So one thing is,
Do we need to check audio levels?
well, we need to, we just got to speak into the microphones. I mean, you don't have to speak in the microphone. Don't want to. But if you want somebody to hear you what you're saying, then I would recommend.
Pop.
I mean, you guys
Rob's bad at this.
Working. Pop. Pop.
You guys have a podcast.
Yeah, but Rob doesn't like to talk into the mic.
No.
I
Well, if you don't want
talk
people to
really
hear you, that's
close
not a
into
problem.
the mic.
Rob's pretty good with not being.
Yeah, I don't really
Front and
care
center.
about being front and center.
Well, thanks, guys, for having us on your podcast today.
Hey,
You're
wait,
welcome.
That was my
This
line.
is this is Reptile Searchable Talk as
Yeah, this is
There you
Reptile Talk that's searchable as
Reptiles. There you go.
I like it. I like it.
I can roll with that.
So everyone knows the story behind the name of our podcast, but you guys have this podcast called Reptile Talk. Can you explain to me how you came up with this name?
We were thinking about like Maseratis and reptiles, or like doing blow with reptiles, but
Yeah.
those are already taken.
Yeah.
So
Really?
Doing blow with reptiles is taken.
It's taken. Yeah.
yeah.
Are you
.biz, .com. It's
We-
all.
We were also
all
thinking
taken.
about Bad Dragon, but turns out that's something completely
I
different.
can't tell if we're joking or not.
Sorry,
I think
from
it's
the
a
hood with
Rob thing
reptiles.
because I work with a Rob too, and I can never tell if he's joking either.
Hey, it is what
As
it is.
Aiden would say, nothing Rob does surprises me anymore.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Does
That's
that
like
apply
a
to you
regular
too?
thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Are you going to survive in
I
that
don't-
chair?
this
Kevin
chair-
really annihilated
I
that
know.
chair.
Yeah, we've got Rob
Well,
in a
whatever.
chair that is falling apart.
It's literally falling apart, but it's okay.
But it has a padded seat.
It does.
That's
My
the most important thing.
soundboard
That's all I
on the-
care about.
There you go.
This is for our last couple podcasts we've done have been remote, so it's nice to be with some people in person.
We
For
actually
sure.
have everyone in person. Yeah,
Yeah,
this
Hey.
is exciting.
Right,
Look
we're
at
gonna
that.
port you in, but
I'm gonna pretend like it's the good old days.
Yeah. we've got last time we podcasted in person was in Barczyk's podcast studio.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
That
Well, I'm
was
sorry.
much nicer.
Yeah, I'm sorry. These aren't the same digs, guys. Thanks for making me feel like shit.
I would never do that on purpose.
At least your walls match Brian's shirt, so we're
This
good.
is true. This is true. Not planned.
I
but
didn't know they made paint that color.
Me either. I just showed up here and that's what I got. So
It just seemed appropriate to film and just record the podcast in a room where you're always
meant to
recording.
recording.
audio,
Yeah, for
so
sure. Yeah.
You got sound padding up on the walls and stuff. I mean,
Yeah, so it's extra boomy.
All right. Well, guys, we're actually on the Searchable as Reptiles podcast today, and I'm one of your hosts, Garrett Hartle from Reach Out Reptiles.
Brian Cusco from Reach Out Reptiles.
And Freedom Breeder.
And
Freedom
today-
Breeder
And Triple B.
and the Whiskey Wimps, who are the sponsors of today's
Oh, are we
Drink.
jumping? Do you want to?
sponsored the new channel.
You sponsored
on
the
YouTube.
channel, so you're getting right into that before you introduce the guest. That's okay. You can shout
Hey,
yourself
it's
out.
5
Continue.
o'clock
I don't want to
I
interrupt.
thought we said we're here with the Reptile Talk.
It's called Priorities.
Yeah, we didn't actually introduce. So if you guys aren't subscribed to Reptile Talk, you need to go ahead and subscribe to that one and then come on back. But so we actually have podcasters versus podcasters here today, which is
Boom.
pretty
That's right.
exciting. So I take it you guys can probably introduce yourselves.
Yeah.
Let's
Are
hear
you
it.
ready?
Let's hear it.
All right. So this is Jeremy Turgeon from Brassman Reptiles.
And I'm Rob, and I'm keeping it real. I don't
Perfect.
have a business name.
That's business name.
So there's
It's-
two
it's your-
podcasts. They got to go
Cheers.
check out Reptile Talk, and then they need to check out the Whiskey Wimps.
Whiskey Wimps. Well, it's not a podcast. It's just a YouTube show. not
Oh,
a
okay.
podcast.
You're not releasing them on podcast.
No, it's not. No, it's not. You have to be able to see what's happening on the Whiskey Wimp. There's no way you can podcast that. You can't. The audio is not going to do it.
Yeah.
It's
okay.
not. I
It's
promise.
mostly the faces that he makes.
It really is. Honestly, like I spent so much time going to. I've purposely filmed in 4K so that I could punch in on faces that are being made. Especially my co-host Matt's face when I'm saying certain things. His face takes on some pretty special.
I can't wait for the holiday recap of that show. It's all horrible.
He's making some pretty. Yeah, some of the faces he makes are.
They're great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Matt's a pretty special guy all around. We love you, Matt. Matt's actually supposedly, he takes care of our Facebook page for Searchable as Reptiles, too. Which, if you guys haven't jumped on there before, I'm talking to you guys in the room here.
Oh, okay.
You should check it out. That's a pretty fun little community when we actually talk about stuff. But
Hey.
pretty slick.
I'll check that out.
I'll check it
A boring Facebook group?
No, it's
Wait, is it group or page?
It's not boring, but it's
As far as drama or goes,
drama.
super
yeah,
boring.
That's what I meant.
Zero,
That's my favorite.
Zero drama, but yeah, lots of interesting discussions. So
I'm here for that.
It's unlike all the rest of Facebook entirely. So it's pretty cool.
I like that.
So this is pretty good. So Brian, what do we have here for our drink sponsor is actually your podcast, Brian.
It's not a podcast.
Oh, right.
It's a YouTube channel called Whiskey Wimps. right
I'm
now. That's what it's
actually
called.
not technologically savvy enough to know the difference. Go ahead.
But go off.
Whiskey Wimps. It's Jack Daniel's single barrel rye,
I'm about it.
which anything that Jack Daniels makes that isn't number 7 is generally pretty good. At least that's what I've found.
I like this better than the barrel proof.
A lot of people do like number 7, but it's mostly to me. If you're having number 7, you're putting some Coke in it.
Like Coca-Cola.
Not like blow in Reptiles.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Like pop in Reptiles.
That's trademark, so they can't.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
It's a bad thing.
So you were telling me I didn't know this. Reptile Talk was from kind of a ways back, like several years, 7, 8 years.
7 or
ago?
8 years ago. Yeah. So Reptile Talk started
Jeez.
before podcasting was interesting and hip.
Is it interesting and hip now?
I sort of.
It's definitely more popular.
It is
now.
way more popular. Yeah.
Okay.
But Steve Tillis down in Florida and I started Reptile Talk, and Steve and I met through the ethers of YouTube when we were very young, and we were like, "Hey, man!" Like he had just started working at Eugene Bassett's place down in Florida, and I had connections with Kevin and Barcheck and everything. So I was like, "Hey, dude, we could maybe do a podcast and like interview some cool people and like get some info out." And we are like, "Hell yeah, let's do it!" So we did it for
Work
a while.
the connections. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You know, because we're a couple
both
young
sides,
guys,
yeah.
and we had like a little bit of push ourselves. You know, so it was like, all right, if we can get some cool hosts on, maybe we can do something cool. And then as we got older and both ended up going to college, we were like, we can't keep up with this. This is not happening.
How old are you?
I'm 28.
Okay.
Wow, you are old. I thought I was old. How old are you, Rob?
I turned 32 in like a week and a half.
Ooh, I'm sorry I said you were so old.
Thanks.
Just kidding. You guys are both younger than both of you together is about what Brian is, so we're good.
So you guys got over the podcast, went to college, and
Yeah, so when I was up here, I was like, I love how we just deviate. Yeah, I was like, man, I really want to start this podcast back up, especially as podcasting is getting more popular or whatever. So I had reached out to Steve, and Steve is still in college. He's getting his doctorate right now.
wait until there's more competition.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I figured why not? It's the perfect time. I'm down for some fun. So Steve was like, man, I want to do it, but I can't commit. I don't have the time. And I was like, that's cool. Do you mind if I really want to bring it back. Do you mind if I reach out to somebody else to do it? And he was like, go for it, you know? So I hit up Rob and I was like, hey dude, I got a crazy idea. Let's resurrect something. And he was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. So we started last week of March. Right, last year is when we started the Reptile Talk podcast.
What a time to do
We've
that.
got these pretty sick stickers here. Look at it. It looks just like you guys.
It does.
That is
Shout out to Adeline
That's right.
Robinson.
Oh, really? Did she do that?
She
That's
did
right,
it,
'cause
yep.
She did this shirt. too.
Right? Yeah, that's right. Yes. She's awesome. And she
Love
like
her.
Adeline is keeping it real.
If you guys are just listening to the audio version, that's great. We also do have the channel on YouTube if you want to see the
actual
designs
stickers.
and
Yes.
things
Yeah.
that we're talking
What we're
like,
about.
talking about,
subscribe,
The
hit the
color of
notification
walls,
bell.
etc.
My
You've been
8-year-old.
trained, I can tell.
Yeah.
My 8-year-old taught me how to say that. She's like, "Why don't you say this in your videos, Dad?" And I was like, "That's my problem.
Yeah,
That's
right,
why no one
Click
watches
the
me."
bell.
I forgot to tell him.
Oh man, but yeah. So Rob and I started the podcast back up, and we were instantly overwhelmed with the support that we got.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's been amazing. Unfortunately, the
How long have you been doing it now?
it's been what 10 months?
Yeah,
10 months.
And what kind of like a frequency do you guys put it out?
Once a week.
Oh wow, yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good
once a
amount.
week, yeah.
That's probably more than us.
Yeah.
Yeah, once a month is less than once a week generally,
Yeah.
traditionally.
No,
Yeah.
I mean we've been doing it more than 10 months, but you guys probably have more
More
episodes
episodes.
than us at this point.
Yes, this is episode 18.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There you go.
40 something.
Yeah, we're on
Yeah.
42. Just
Yeah.
went up.
Yeah.
Yeah, 42 just went up.
Wow.
So it's been awesome, man. It's we've talked to some amazing people, yourself included, Brian.
That's true. They've had me on.
Wow. I
Well,
feel
Most of Brian's
kind
episode was just
odd
them talking
man
about
out
music.
here all of a sudden.
Well, it's like a 25% chance that we can get Garrett to come.
It's actually
Well,
57.3%.
If you can get it up to 47.5%, that's
then
when,
it happens.
Then we're cooking.
That's the
Then we're
tipping
cooking,
point.
yeah.
that's the tipping point when it breaks into the
We can actually
55.
say that the Super Dwarf King will be there.
Well, you'd have to designate me as that first, but other than that,
No,
I
well,
resist the title.
No, stop it.
We're not allowed to talk about superdwarves on this podcast because Brian gets mad. Enough about us. What about you?
Yes, please.
So, no, seriously, though. Okay, so you guys both work at Nerd.
Yes.
And this is super cool. I was telling my Rob, the other Rob I drove up here with, I was like, why do we keep rolling in like late at night to places? I'm like, I just want to like film my genuine reaction. So there will be at some point a video on my YouTube of me faking pulling into Nerd for the first time tomorrow morning, being like, wow.
Wow, look at this place. Could
But
you
it's always-
imagine?
Like, we actually did record when we rolled up to Barczyk's place, and Lori came out the front, and I was like, hey, Lori, and she's like, hi, and just walked by. Didn't even look up, didn't know who, like, didn't look to see who it was, nothing.
I love
You know
Lori.
what I mean?
Lori is
We had
amazing.
We had already overwhelmed her at that point. You guys showed up. She's like, "Oh, we're
That's
at."
my point.
we're at-
Every time I roll in, everyone's like, no, we've had enough. Turn around, get out.
We spent all the excitement energy that we can possibly muster.
Exactly.
It's true.
But
You
what
missed
do
the
you
wave.
guys, so like, in what capacity do you work at Nerd then? So like, Jeremy, what do you do?
So I'm the facility manager, so I basically oversee everything that's happening at Nerd.
And Kevin.
And Kevin. Keeping track of Kevin is probably my most important job.
So you managing the business side as well, or just the physical facilities?
Just the physical facilities
Okay.
at Nerd. We have somebody else that does all the bookkeeping and numbers
okay.
and all that stuff.
He's
Yeah.
not joking about managing Kevin. He will transpose music that Kevin is having trouble figuring out how to play.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, no, that's serious. That's
So-
actually serious.
So personal assistant
Yeah,
to the regional manager.
Yeah,
I got
exactly. And what's interesting about that is I didn't realize how much a major part of my job that was until we all went to Tinley. Because Kevin hadn't done the show in 7 years, and everybody wanted to talk to Kevin. And he gets overwhelmed very quickly, especially when you're in a massive place. There's a bunch of people, plus the stress of having all the animals. We had most of our
Doing shows
staff
is
there.
very stressful.
It's already really stressful, right? So
like, here, see if you can balance on this one wheel. While you're
yeah, exactly. Yeah, Cusco came here and fucked it all up with a one wheel. But I realized really quickly, I was like, okay, I need to like kind of put up a gate between all the people who want to get to Kevin for like interviews or to do this or do that. So I immediately kind of like jumped into that position of like, all right, if you want to talk to Kevin, we at this time. You want to interview Kevin? All right, this time, here we go. We're going to do it there. And then I'm running over to Kevin. Hey, 12:30, you got to do this. Hey, 1 o'clock, you got to do this. Hey, at 3 o'clock, we're going to go over here. And it was just that immediate reaction of like, oh, this is going to be a thing. And then after Tinley, it just kind of continued on because like that was enough of being in the actual public eye outside of social media where people were like, oh man, nerds around, like, and they're still kicking ass. So people started hitting us up about coming to do collabs and all this other stuff. And Kevin doesn't check his messages on social media.
If
or
I message Kevin on
otherwise.
Instagram or anywhere besides texting him directly, he doesn't respond.
Yeah.
Jessica, are you listening to this right now? I'm not the only one.
Yeah. It's
Like,
true.
And I'm like, I saw something cool on Instagram. I wanted you to see it. I know that you'd be excited about it. If you see a message from me, read it. And he's like, oh, I don't check my messages. I'm like, just check one.
But it's
from
me.
Yeah,
It's
me.
me.
Or Jeremy. Like, we're not going to just text you for no fucking reason.
Yeah.
So who's running the New England Reptile Instagram page?
There's 4 people or 5 people who run it right now.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
A lot of the posts I put up there, a lot of the photography that goes up on there, stuff that I do. And then Jeremy also has access to it. Donnie, our camera guy, has access to it. He doesn't really post much on there unless we're like, hey, you should post this thing on there. Like the picture the other day of Lucifer, the het leucistic king cobra that he put on Kevin's. I was like, dude, you need to post that because he had
For
that on
nerds,
his own
yeah.
thing. And I was like, you need to post that on the bigger accounts because it's nice. It's a really nice picture.
Wait. There's a het leucistic king cobra?
There's 7 in the United States, but they're not from ours.
So was the lucid was
Is it a,
what's
is
her
it-
name?
is
Lilith.
it incomplete?
Lilith? Is she captive bred then?
No. So here's the deal. We just found this
I
out.
thought she was like a one-time wild caught.
We thought that too until she came to the U.S. And then there was like, oh, surprise, there's another one in Indonesia. And he's already reproduced. And 7 of his babies came to the U.S. So
They're learning from old school ball python importing days.
Yeah.
yeah, this is the only one. This is the only one. This is the only one. Ah, just kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the other one that is out there is a male. He reproduced with a normal female, and they produced a clutch of het animals. They look very different.
So
they're
they're
like
so it's an
black.
incomplete dominant trait.
Yes, I'm going to say yes
They look
because
black?
they're almost all black.
So the het, is,
And
the
they've
het
got a
for
white
white is
head.
actually black with a white head.
Yeah.
New chalice.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yes, you're thinking new chalice, exactly like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one else knows what I'm talking about, but I'm.
I
okay
do.
with that. Yeah.
White-headed honors, yeah.
Yeah.
New chalice,
There you go.
Varanus new chalice. You check him out. John from Sim Containers. John the
He
Dragon has got
doesn't,
some.
He doesn't watch. John doesn't watch this.
I know, but he breeds them. He just posted babies like last week.
No, I saw him. Man.
Yeah.
I'm sick. I like him all the time, and then I'm like, I can't.
Yeah.
no.
But they're like that, where they've got like a whitish colored head, and then the patterning down the hood is very aberrant, and it's darker, significantly darker than
That's
your normal
sick.
king cobra. So
So it's almost like a piebald that is the het for the leucistic.
yeah,
Which would
Kind of,
make
yeah.
sense, but nothing else works that way.
yeah.
Yeah.
Some animals, when they're have piebaldism, can be extremely high white, almost all white. I think maybe some birds and
No, but I mean like a half white animal being het for the all white
All-white
animal.
animal.
Oh,
Like
Yeah.
right.
makes sense. It just doesn't happen that way except
Right.
in this case. Okay, so but she's not related then, or she's,
She's
a other
unrelated.
line.
She's completely
And
unrelated
do you,
to that one.
Do you, I mean obviously then you don't know
If they're compatible.
Yeah, we
yes.
don't know. We're
That's the
taking
stressful-
a chance on that.
Not
yeah.
only is it stressful to breed king cobras,
No kidding. But you only have one.
we've got the one het male, and then we've got the visual female.
Oh gosh.
And
Do
we're
you
hoping
have
that they're
other
compatible.
females to try to breed the male to
We
in
have
the
8 king
meantime?
cobras at Nerd.
Yeah, but I mean like so would they be a part of the leucistic breeding program?
Hopefully.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
fingers-
only one
fingers
visual
crossed.
Female. We are definitely going to try and breed that male to as much as we can to hopefully produce more of those heads.
I'm sorry, I have to hammer this rabbit trail a little bit more.
Yep.
Where are they all from?
She is from, I want to say Thailand. The other one is
Okay.
Indonesia, like the other a different part of Indonesia.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I saw a picture of the male. He is easily the biggest king cobra I've ever
Yeah,
seen in my
freaking
life. The
massive.
guy who was holding him,
And
had
he's
his
the
hands around
Indonesian
like
one.
this,
Yeah.
and his hands
And like
didn't
still
touch.
couldn't touch.
There's
yeah.
there's a lot of really big king cobras out there.
Yeah.
Can we talk about leucistic or leucistic?
Leucistic.
Just since we're talking about it, like leucistic
As
is
far
not
as the pronunciation.
is not right. It gets brought up all the time because I always say leucistic. People are like, I hate it hearing you say it like that. I had that little comment. I think.
Yeah.
It's because it's not incorrect. It's kind of a tomato thing at this point. I think is where it stands. Even though most people in the hobby do say leucistic, the root for the word
It's the
is
leukocyte.
leukos, which is the Greek word for white.
This just got way too freaking deep, man.
No.
It's
Yeah.
a white
It's
snake.
not deep. It just got really factual.
Scientific, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not okay
So
with
I
that.
deal with this with like
We'll
the
jump back, don't
spellings
worry.
and
We have a segment.
pronunciation of retic locality all the time. And everyone's like, no, it's spelled like this or it's pronounced like that. And I'm like, look, I do it the way that I did it when I was a kid because I like it and it makes me feel good. And for all of you guys that disagree, where's your Myanmar python? Do you still call it a Burmese? Can you show me Burma on the map?
Yeah,
Otherwise,
if you can't pick out the
suck
island,
it.
please shut the hell up, please.
I'm sorry you found one of the little Superdorf islands on Google Earth and they think it should be spelled this way. Sorry.
Yep, don't care.
I'm just going back to old school. It's
That's what my point. I'm staying
Statistic.
old school. I'm like keeping it old school, keeping it real.
Keeping it real.
I'm gonna teach all you young punks a thing or two.
leukocyte.
Lucas.
Yeah, but you can't call them Lukis then. That doesn't sound.
You
like
can though.
You
I
could.
actually
Sounds like
I
something
get
you're gonna
Justin to
hawk.
do it for a while.
Honestly,
Fell back.
it bothers me
no.
more when people are like,
I
"Do you
got
have
a
any
Lukey guy."
bells?" And I'm like,
Luki.
"What are you talking about?" They're like, "Do you have any bells?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" They're like, "Oh, a blue-eyed leucistic." I was like, "Why don't you just say a blue-eyed leucistic
Yeah,
or like
we're not
or
texting.
Lucy?" I know we're not texting right now. That's like when people say POTUS. I'm like, "Can you just say the president, please?" Can you? It took me a week to figure out what people were saying when they were like, "Did you see the POTUS? What he said?" And I was like, "What the hell is a POTUS? What
The-
is?"
the
What
funny
morph
thing
is that?
Yeah.
Everybody that uses these abbreviations, this is my old school opinion, okay? you guys all got ruined by a technology you don't even understand. You remember the old flip phones where it have 3 letters on
Yeah.
each number,
yes.
and that's how you text?
T9.
And you got to hit three times to get to the whatever D or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why we abbreviated everything, because it was a huge pain.
Yeah.
But then this big invention came along where like the phones had all the buttons on them all of a sudden,
then
and that
no
became
buttons?
obsolete. Except you guys brought it into actual like spoken language.
Yeah.
It was
Ha
never
ha,
supposed
LOL.
to get there.
Hold on,
Yeah.
people-
IMO.
people
That's
have
the
been-
dumbest thing ever.
People have been abbreviating and turning sentences into acronyms long before flip phones.
No, I think that's well. Give me an example. Lucy.
You know, with OPP.
Luke.
Care.
Yeah, you know me.
There's got to be a line, Cusco. It's gone too far.
Have you
FBI, well before the internet.
Yeah, nobody cares about them though.
And barging through the door.
No, they wouldn't. They can't even keep track of the Capitol buildings.
Yeah, for reals, though.
Oh, I got my trumpet. I'll play taps for him all right now.
Oh, please do. Can we have that?
It's like, have you read
Is that real?
1984?
You want that to
I
happen?
haven't.
Oh.
No,
We're in the
I don't remember it either. I was 1 year old.
We'll do it this way.
One
No,
more.
the
Hold on.
Wow, this is actually pretty impressive the way he's holding this thing and playing. Look at his chin quiver.
Because I looked at Rob dying over there.
Wow. I apologize to everyone that's listening in headphones. For that.
No,
I don't.
I got the levels in front of me. It
I
leveled out
didn't
great.
aim. I didn't aim right into the dynamic.
No, it was
We're
perfect.
Okay.
you were like in the sweet spot.
Okay,
Perfect.
so we went down like 27 rabbit trails, but Rob was going to tell us what he does at Nerd at some point.
Oh.
That's true. That is true.
We still don't know. I'm assuming some kind of social media.
No, well, probably the coolest job there, I would say. The most. Sorry, Jeremy. Probably
watch
the,
your
the-
mouth. Watch
the
your
mo-
mouth.
The most important job
Damn.
of any reptile.
What? Don't work with animals? I don't know. That's terrible. I do sales. I do marketing. I photograph animals, and then I
Poor
float.
bastard.
So I do. Yeah, I have the least fun part of the whole job, which is dealing with customers. So I do a lot of that, and
I was under the impression that you did a lot of the reptile education.
I do education a lot. But now with COVID, there's almost none of
No
that going
education.
on.
Yeah.
Before COVID, so when I first started at Nerd, there was the opportunity for people to come in and do a tour of Nerd, and they would basically charge you like $4 or something. And people, it was like very niche. The people who showed up were usually like diehard reptile people, or they were like a family who just happened to hear from somebody else that we did tours there. And they showed up. So it would be like the first tour that I took at Nerd was like me losing my mind over, axanthic bumblebees and, bumblebees and cow retics and all this stuff. Maybe not. I don't think cows had been made yet. Golden child.
Not at that
No,
point,
not at that
no.
point. But like axanthic bumblebees, I remember seeing bumblebees in person and being like, oh my God, this snake is so freaking cool. And like some blood pythons and stuff like that. And I was like losing my mind. And then the only other people on the tour with me was like this family who was like, their kids are screaming the whole time. And they were like, yeah, these things, that's a snake, all right. And they just didn't know anything. And so when I started at Nerd, on the
Was
week,
how long ago?
4 years ago, about
Okay.
a little more than 4
Yeah,
years
a
ago.
little more than 4. Yeah.
I was like, look, Kevin, you've got an amazing collection of animals here. You should show them to people better, because the people who worked in Nerd before, they didn't have like a background in education. Most of them didn't have a background in education, so they just kind of were reptile people, and reptile people aren't always the best at showing other people why reptiles are cool. They enjoy their reptiles. And
No,
then-
there's a conundrum. Like you don't if you are into reptiles, for a lot of us, it's because we don't like people.
Yes.
So we shy away from people, and we do like weird things like gauge our ears,
Yeah.
or you know what I mean, dress up
Get
all
tattoos
emo.
and
I feel like
all
that
that
might be a personal attack.
Yeah.
Rob.
No,
What are you talking about? I don't know.
I don't know what you're talking about. It's not generated in any northeastern
Anyway,
direction at all.
I was going to wait for Rob to finish his sentence.
We
So-
don't do that. This is a podcast.
So, a lot of the people who were there before, they they didn't know how to like portray, because it's one thing to have all the information in the world. Like there's lots of people who are hyper intelligent, but if they can't express to you why this information is important, it doesn't matter to the average person. And when I was younger, I did a lot of education. Me and my mother had a business where we did educational programs. I did like probably thousands of shows with her. And so when I got to nerd
Reptiles?
for Reptiles, yeah, it was called Radical Reptiles, because I skateboarded and I was younger and I was like, yeah, cool, Radical Reptiles. So
I remember that.
yeah,
Pretty cool.
it was a while ago. But so when I got to nerd, I was like, Kevin, you've got this like amazing collection of animals. You should present it better to people, because there's so much potential to teach people with this things that we've got at Nerd. And that's kind of my favorite thing to do. So I was like, every weekend we were doing tours. So every weekend at 4 p.m. we had public tours. So they're open tours. Anyone who showed up, you pay $8. You can get a chance to be hands-on with the animals. We'll show you what we do. When I first started at Nerd 4 years ago, it was like maybe 10 people that would show up for the tour. And, I'd be like, hey, at the end of it, if you like this tour, tell somebody about it. Post it on your social media, tag us in it, all this stuff.
He is a marketing guy.
I am a marketing guy. And so, after 6 months, 30 people started showing up. And then after a year, 50 people started showing up. Well, before COVID hit, the 2 weekends before COVID actually happened, we had 110 people each day show up for our tours.
Jeez.
Which was ridiculous.
Which is insane.
Because you guys just walked.
Yeah.
Though briefly for you, just walked that hall, and you imagine
110
100
people
That's crazy.
going through those hallways.
And going into which rooms? All of
So,
them?
we were splitting it between different people. I had to get roped into one of those, and I wasn't thrilled.
When I started doing the tours, it was just me going. I would take people into the retic room. Hey, I'll teach you about reticulated pythons. Look, these things are big. Blah blah blah. They're not legal in a lot of states. And
100 people do not fit in that.
No. When there was like 10 people, 10 to 15 people, it was just me. I would take them in that room. Then I'd show them the caiman and some monitors in the next room on the left, and then some bigger monitors. We'd go into the cave, check out the tortoises, whatever is in the cave. We had rhino vipers in there briefly, so I would just look in the enclosure, see the rhino vipers.
Touch a rhino viper.
No, dude, I don't know.
You're gonna learn today, boy.
We'll bring this up after the podcast, and we'll have to talk about some things that used to happen, because Nerd used to be wild.
It's calm now.
It is much calmer now.
Oh, so much.
When I used to volunteer when I was 17, because I've been literally coming up here for like 15 years, just volunteering time.
On the Retic Nation, I think it looked like you guys had some rowdy times on the
Oh yeah, like throwing ninja stars at people and dumping full containers of monitor water on people, and like
that's definitely
hanging people
not
over
good
the
for
top
you.
of the stairwell, and all sorts of crazy. Like Nerd used to be wild. Now we are very subdued in comparison.
Reserved. Yeah.
We're still fun, but
Not
we're
compared
not.
to other people, just
Not as-
compared to yourself.
Not
Yeah.
as dangerous.
Yeah, not as
Still fun,
dangerous.
just not as
Just not as dangerous.
Yeah.
And
I'll
we're
be
still
the judge
dangerous
of that. I
sometimes.
just got here. We'll
Yes,
see what happens.
true.
Yeah.
So when I used to do the smaller tours with 10 or 15 people, I would just take people in those rooms, and I would just be like, this is what I like about these animals, and this is why you should like them too. Because some people would come on the tour and they're like reptile people. Some people would show up because they saw on Groupon that there was a cool thing to do with your family, and families would show up. And then some people, their family would drag them there because they're terrified of reptiles, but someone in their family likes the reptiles. So those are my favorite people, because the first room I take them to is the big retic room. So if you're afraid of snakes and the first snake that you see in our building is a 17-foot retic, you're either going to leave right then or you're going to get over it. Those are the only two options.
Really a middle ground there.
There is no middle ground, because either you're not going to go in the room and you're going to leave, or you're going to stand at the doorway for a minute, and I'm going to talk about, because a lot of people who do educational programs, they want to get an animal into your hands first thing. But for I think that for people who are afraid of them, it's important for them to know something about the animal before they interact with
That's
it.
a good
Because
thought,
a lot of people, their only experience with snakes was, I saw Anaconda and J-Lo got eaten by the thing. And it's like, okay, that's not real. That wasn't a documentary. Surprise.
Yeah, J-Lo's alive.
Yeah. Surprise. Ice Cube's still cool. So what I would do is I would take people into the room and I would be like, look, these are called reticulated pythons. They're like one of the longest snakes on the planet. You know, we work with them on an everyday basis here. This is a normal one. All the rest of the ones in this room are not normal. They're not what you would look like in the wild. And we breed them to be like that. So we work with these animals and blah, blah, blah. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take out a baby. So I go into the other room, grab a young animal, you know, something under 6 months, so something really small. And I go, okay, look, you guys are going to be able to pet this. But you're not going to touch it in the face, because if the first thing I do when I meet you is go like this, and I go up to whoever's closest to me, I just go like this, and immediately you can see the person recoil back and go, oh, and you go, you see that? That's how the snake feels. Don't do that. And everyone gets it. Every instant understanding. Everyone's like, okay, I wouldn't do that to someone on the street. I'm not going to do that to a snake.
It works extra good in the COVID days. Just walk up to a stranger, touch them in the face.
Yeah. So
They get the point right away.
So I would do that, and people get it, and then, you know, they pet the little one, and the people who are afraid, they go, and they'd like touch it, and they'd be like, oh, it's not slimy. And I'm like, I told you it wasn't slimy. And, you know, a little bit of that understanding starts to happen. So everyone gets to pet the little one. How would you guys want to see a bigger one? Half the people scream, yeah, a bigger one. And then that one person's like, I just want to die. So I put the little one back, take a snake hook, explain why I use a snake hook, tap the animal, take it out, and I hold it first. So I usually scoot everyone to one side of the room so that they are away from me. I say, hey, look, you know, while I'm taking them out, it's important that I handle this animal, show you that it's safe, and then you guys can touch it. The ones that I take out for programs are ones that we have specifically chosen and socialized to be hyper tolerant to people. So they're animals where you could literally grab them by the head and they are not going to do anything.
Hey, stop.
Yeah, please stop.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
one of
exactly.
those. So
Yeah.
I know, even though I don't have to use a snake hook with them, I show people this is what we do. This is routine, blah, blah, blah. This is why I do it, all this sort of stuff. So it gets people's minds moving in the direction of, okay, this guy is working with these animals
Responsible
every day.
handling,
Exactly.
yeah.
Responsible handling. And so I'll take out a big one. I put it on me, so 15, 16 foot, just wrapped around me all over the place. And I say, okay, if you like to pet it, come over here and start petting it, just not on the face. So people just come all over and start rubbing, just feeling it. And the people who are into it, you can see like that just love for it in their eyes. And then the people who are afraid of it, they're in the back and they're like, maybe I don't know. And then they see a 2-year-old going up and like touching it. And they're like, okay, if the 2-year-old can do it,
Yeah, that's the best.
I think that I might be able to do it. And then they feel the big one and it just like breaks down immediately. And they're like, why am I afraid of these things? And once you get past that, like I'm not going to go room by room and tell you what I do, but like once you get past that like initial breakdown of these are not what I thought they were, that's when people can start learning. And that is what like I really enjoyed doing. So
And not just learning facts, but learning to not be afraid of something.
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
misunderstood.
exactly. So
I used to do so many shows, and I haven't done one in a very,
it's
very
been a
long
it's been a
time.
bit, yeah.
And yeah, just hearing you tell the stories and like, oh God, I missed
I
that.
missed that.
Yeah,
I missed
yeah,
that
yeah.
so
I
much.
just booked my first one today
Did
since COVID stopped everything.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people have been doing things virtually and stuff, but they're just it cannot ever be the
It's-
same
yeah, it's
as
not
like
the same.
seeing
Touching it in
someone
person,
come
yeah.
into a room with one perspective of something
And
and leaving with their minds completely open.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, when I first started doing the Zoom programs, I was like, this is not going to be interesting. Like, the point of a reptile program is to get to feel the reptiles, to experience them in person. And, you know, I was like, the kids are just not going to be into it. And then I did a couple of them, and every single program I did, it was like I was in there in person. The kids were losing their minds, going off. And, like, you know, it is different because they can't feel it and experience that like directly. But just being able to ask questions and get immediate feedback from someone.
And you got to
is-
realize too, like the potential is much larger.
Yes.
You can reach
Way
many
more.
people.
Way more. Yeah.
So even though it might be like a little bit of like a watered down program, if you will, because the experience isn't there, you know, as physical experience, but because the reach is so big.
Right. You can reach anybody in the world potentially.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and if they're diehards like us, then 47.5% later they drive up to Nerd. You know, get it for real.
So as we got bigger and bigger and bigger programs, I started to train some of the other people that work at Nerd. Okay, this is the information that I tell people. This is what I think is important, like important points to hit on, things that can get you to change people's minds, or things that, after doing programs for 10 years or whatever, you learn what kind of questions people ask. And if you can get out ahead of it and give them that information before they ask the question, they're like, oh my God, you're reading my mind. And it's like, no, I've just heard every question ever, for doing it for so long. And so I've got a set amount of information that I usually give to people. If people ask, I always encourage people to ask questions, but I know that the average person that comes on the program, they're going to ask, okay, how big does it get? Where does it come from? How long do they live? Do they bite? I tell people don't even ask that
one. After they pet it, they say, is it venomous?
Yeah.
I always say yes.
I start telling people, don't ask that question. I'm like, here's the deal. We don't like lawsuits, so I'm not going to bring out anything that's going to bite you.
Says the guy that was just hanging someone from the stairs by their ankles.
Oh, that wasn't me. That was before I worked there.
My go-to answer for that is that it does have a mouth.
That's mine. Yeah, usually everything's got a mouth. Everything with a mouth can bite. And then they go, and I'm like, is it biting me right now? And they go, no. And I'm like, well, then, don't hurt it. If I grab your arm and twist it, you're probably going to punch me, right? Don't do that.
Or just say, do you bite? Be honest. Sometimes you bite.
Yeah.
Sometimes you bite, especially when you're younger.
Only if they ask.
And that's
only if they ask.
And that's why I said it's the most important job. Changing people's minds and getting them over their fear of reptiles is, in my opinion,
the most important thing.
No, marketing and sales, obviously the most important job.
Oh, it's so crushing.
So be nice to Rob, whoever you customers are that are talking about it, crushing his soul.
I have to say though,
go easy on him.
For the number of not wonderful customers,
we got way more customers who love us.
We have a lot of wonderful people who message us and contact us inquiring about our reptiles, and a lot of the people that seek us out because of what Nerd is, like the socialized water monitors, the big ridiculous looking reticulated pythons and ball pythons and stuff like that. So more often than not, a lot of the people who are reaching out to us for purchasing something, like, they're somewhat aware of us. Of course, we get that percentage that's like, I just want a cool animal, and you're like, cool, here's a ball python.
I had someone call the other day and they were like, I just want a normal ball python. And I was like, oh, well, you can come into our store and like take a look at it. And they're like, no, I want to like buy one and have it shipped. And I was like, that is not like worth it in any sense to us. Like, I'm going to have to schedule a shipment and get boxes and do that. The box itself is going to cost more than this snake. Like, the shipment is probably going to cost
wholesale
more than the snake. And they were like, oh, that's fine. I don't really care. And I was like, okay, we'll do this, I guess. But
hey, I'll tell you what, though, honestly, like, so super dwarves, right? And I promise not to talk about super dwarves. But I just want to, like, so a lot of people think they're like a good, like a starter retic or whatever. Okay, but
not always.
But those cheap ones, the cheap normals, the things like that as a company, it's not, may not feel like it's worth it monetarily. I think you're sowing a seed that's going to grow into something really big a lot of times. So, and even for the company, so like you mentioned at the end of your shows, you'll say, hey, if you like this, go tell somebody.
Yes.
And so I think even selling the most basic of animal, if they're willing to pay the shipping and do all that kind of stuff, I'm willing to put in the extra effort and time to get them that animal. Yeah. Walk them through it, tell them if you have any questions, be sure to ask us, you know what I mean? And let them have a really dynamite experience, and then say the same thing, like, just do me a favor, like, tag me in some pictures as it grows. I would love to see that kind of stuff. Continue the conversation, and if anybody asks, be sure to let them know. Like,
where
if you want a normal ball python, Nerd's the place to go, because they have awesome people there that are going to really take care of you. And I'm sure you see this. I just kind of wanted to like bring it up especially for everybody listening. Like, obviously you're putting time. You could say that it's not worth your time for a $4 or $8 tour to let that kid pet their first snake.
Oh, those are always worth it to me.
Exactly. It's the intrinsic value of the thing. Yeah. So I would challenge you to kind of like be like, sometimes the beginner stuff is the absolute most rewarding stuff. And yes, I'm sure you guys have experienced this. The high-end customer is the easiest. They're like, look, man,
not always. No,
Oh,
not
man,
always.
dude.
No.
My high-end customers are like, yeah, whatever, put it in the box, put the
No.
We've got
I
okay.
got a
Out of
couple
all
have
the
that.
high-end
Yeah, a
customers,
couple of
out of all
those.
the high-end customers we deal with, there's probably like I'll say, and I'm being generous, 5% of our high-end customers that are those people that are like, I want this.
And they get it.
Okay, and yep, here we go. We're good to go.
Now, do you think that's because, see, I had the same experience as Garrett, but I work with mostly one species as well as he. Do you think that's because you guys have such a variety?
I would-
there's definitely
I
different
would say
niches
yes.
within the industry.
I would definitely say yes, and I mean, like the hardest thing, especially to think about too, is just the sheer quantity of animals that we have. You know, so thinking about like, I mean, you already saw we have a large number of monitors. You know, we're breeding monitors. 2 of our incubators are basically jam-packed with monitor clutches right now. So to go through and individually take photographs of every baby we're producing.
Yeah, but see
would be-
those are the low-end customers for me.
Yeah,
Not
those
the
are some of
high-end
our.
ones.
Sometimes those are our high-end customers who they're like, well, if I'm going to drop all this money, I have to see it.
My big one was like we had a couple people who wanted to buy baby anacondas from us, and our anacondas, the babies, all look identical. You cannot pick. Like there might be one baby or 2 babies out of each litter that are like, oh, that one looks different.
Two
but
of the spots come together and make a heart.
exactly, there's 2 of those in each litter.
Yeah.
But aside from that, all the rest of them look the same. And I had a couple customers who were like, I'm spending $1,000. I want individual pictures. So I was like, this actually was very
Do
controversial.
you take the 3 ugliest pictures and send it to them? And be like,
No,
"Here you
no,
go,
no.
sucker."
What I started doing
Blurry.
2 years ago or 3 years ago is I started telling people, look, because we get like probably 300 requests for additional pictures each week on stuff that's already photographed on our website, and I'm like,
Very well.
Very
Like,
well.
We take
the time.
Rob takes the extra time to make sure
It's
the
a nice
photograph that's
picture.
going up is a wonderful representation
So
of the
I
animal.
think
they're
I know
gonna
where
get.
you're going with this. Are you the one that was responsible for charging? It was
Yes.
like $25.
$25. If you want more
Kudos to
pictures,
you.
if you want more
Seriously?
pictures, pay us $25. If you buy the animal, it comes out of the cost of the animal, so you're
Yeah.
not wasting my time because a lot of people are wasting our time. Kevin, like sometimes he gets the emails and he's like, "Oh, this person is serious and they want to buy it and they want more pictures," and then he sends them 37 pictures and they're like, "I want a video," and he sends them a video and then he never hears from them again. He's like, "They didn't even buy the thing," and I was like, "You should have charged them, dude. If they're serious about it and they're gonna buy it anyway." $25. What
Yeah,
is
you're
$25?
just chipping that off of the
No,
cost, essentially.
so
yeah.
this is
People got
kind of
upset.
funny because from the outside, I was
People
gonna
got
say-
upset.
For additional pictures.
Additional pictures.
Yeah,
already
yeah.
photographed on
Well,
our
they've
website.
already had it.
Yeah.
If you're collecting
Yeah.
desktop screensavers or
Yes.
whatever, you got to pay for those.
Yep.
But yeah, I thought it was really an interesting move, and it takes a company like Nerd that's kind of
to
like
do that, to set the precedent.
we don't care.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
what we're doing.
Yeah.
But and even though it made a lot of people mad, I think a lot of times we as humans get mad about stuff that like we're used to.
Yeah.
So like I was just complaining with Rob on the way up here. We're listening, other Rob, my Rob. We're listening to a bunch of podcasts, and there was people on these podcasts arguing about. Do you remember when something was so cheap back in the day?
Yeah.
Those used like Anaconda is a great example.
$100.
Why would it be $1,000? I can buy them for $100. I remember from 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's such an asinine argument.
Yes.
Like people in the industry talk about it all the time. Either if it was a morph that used to be really expensive and how sad it is now that it's cheap, or if it was some obscure species that used to be cheap, how sad it is that it's now expensive. It's like, grow up, guys. You used to be able to buy a Chevy pickup for $1,700. You know?
Literally.
People do that
It's a
about
different
everything.
world.
Reminisce back on how things
Yeah.
used to be.
And they
'cause
get
some of
angry
them
that
were
it's
nice.
that it's
That's
not the
changing,
same.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so like, because I have people that get like, we don't really do payment plans. I understand if you're buying something expensive, I say, look, if you give me half the money now and you can get the rest in 30 days, I'll give you that to just kind of shift things around
That's what
out of
we
your
do.
Grand
Yeah.
Cayman
Yep.
account.
Yep.
Yeah, but don't ask me like I do this for a living.
Yeah, this is how I pay my bills.
I
so.
can't finance you. There's credit cards for that.
Mm-hmm.
Just buy it on a credit card and pay it off. You'll
Yeah.
even get some points and you can fly out. You know? what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Whatever.
exactly. You can come
But-
pick it up. Yeah.
Yeah, but I thought that was a really interesting thing, even if it makes people mad.
I don't care. People still buy from us. Like, what do you, if you're not going to buy
the
it?
more people that see it and talk about the fact that I saw it online and I
Yeah.
don't do things online
Yeah.
shows that it had some kind of a
Reach, yeah.
reverberation. But that's really good because it makes it's a talking point for like,
This is our time. Our time is important, man. Like,
yeah, guys, like this is not the easy road.
yeah.
We're following what we love, despite many other more financially rewarding options in life.
Yes.
But we are going for that intrinsic value.
Yeah.
The fact that we were talking about the best part is that kid petting a snake, or sending out the normal so somebody can have their first experience. So help support the guys who are doing the things that you like in the industry so that they can keep doing it. Because there's plenty of people who are willing to step in competitively behind them and do things to continue to rip you off, or continue to misrepresent, or continue to, just whatever. There's such a slew of things, people that do things poorly in the industry. So when someone's doing something good, reward them.
Yeah.
Eric and Owen, Morelia Python Radio, I just go back to it all the time. He's like, vote with your dollar. Who stays and who goes?
Who stays
you
and
like
who goes,
somebody?
exactly.
Buy a shirt
Buy
at
stuff for them.
least.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
something.
Yeah.
I think one of the other things too that a lot of people like when it comes to making a post like that, where it's like, yeah, we're going to be charging money for photos because it takes our time and we get all these inquiries. One of the biggest things that people just don't get, like, period, don't get. I don't care what anybody's going to say to object it. You don't know what it's like to be at a place like Nerd.
Yes.
You don't.
Yeah.
You just don't. It's 100% you don't. Whatever you think it
It's
is,
very
you
different.
don't.
Yeah.
And it's just from, and I'm not even talking about the number of animals that we have. I'm literally saying, like, we have a massive staff that have all of their jobs to do, and it's all streamlined. Like, everybody has their specific job for a
It's a
specific
machine,
reason.
and you're stopping one of the cogs.
Exactly.
this.
And it's literally like, like Rob does all this marketing and social media and all this other stuff. But if somebody comes to him and is like, Rob, I really need help, cleaning the caiman. Like, this caiman is being an ass, and like, I need to get him
Pulling
out.
monitor
Like,
eggs
whatever.
or
He's
doing
getting
rats.
pulled to do all that stuff. So to be like, hey, can you take another 20 photos of this snake so I can see that one scale behind the eye?
Because you didn't make a different sale.
Yeah,
and just to clarify, didn't you guys say, like, look, if you buy the snake,
It comes out of the
it
cost
comes
of
out of the cost,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
But
fine.
people forgot about that.
Yeah.
right?
That's the part that probably pissed me off the most. Is it was like, we're not charging you an extra $25.
No.
That's not what we're doing. We're saying, if you're going to waste our time, yeah, we're going to charge you the money.
If someone knows
But-
up front that they're wasting your time, it discourages them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was just to weed
It's
out a
still
lot
hard
of the
thing.
nonsense.
I don't know that I could ever do it, but I thought that it was great that you guys did, and it definitely opened up
Well, you're
an awesome
more in my
conversation.
boat. I mean, you have more animals than probably people contact you than I do, but compared to how many people these guys probably have contacting them on a daily basis,
a
probably
lot.
not.
It's a lot. And the other thing to think about too is, like, we have a retail pet shop on the first floor, so the phone is constantly ringing. And we're fielding calls upstairs just as much as they are for downstairs, and sometimes the calls we're picking up need to go downstairs. So there's no real separation in that instance. So basically, everybody that's been trained to do so is picking up the phone when it's ringing.
Because it's always ringing.
Because it's always ringing.
If you watch any of our YouTube videos and just listen in the background,
You'll hear
every
the phone
single
going
video
off.
you hear the phone going off at
Yeah.
least a couple times in each video.
Yeah.
Unless they've
unplugged it.
Yeah.
And so I mean, it's literally just, and I mean, I even think about like when I went to Barczyk's place 10 years ago, and he still had his 15,000 square foot facility. Like, to think about, it was like, if you're going to be in the office doing the stuff for the website, this is your job. Like, you're not getting pulled off to go do a million things because it's a waste of time. Like, there's a huge difference
You
between
can't
maintaining.
be reactionary. You have to be proactive.
Exactly. So you can't assume because, like, you're this one person that wants to receive all of the attention in the world. We're going to give you that attention, but when you start asking us to do stuff that literally stops those gears,
You're
from
hurting
moving,
us for
you're
being
hurting
nice
us.
to you.
Exactly. And that's when
And
it's
people don't
like,
understand
okay,
that.
we gotta pivot.
Yeah.
And I think that's in a business, especially the size of Nerd, with the amount of animals that we have, the amount of staff we have, that's one of the most important business assets. And I think for any size business, but to be able to pivot when you figure out something that's consistently kind of becoming a chink in the armor kind of deal, like, you've got to be able to figure out, okay, well, how can I stop this from happening? What can we do to preemptively strike against this becoming a bigger issue over time? And, until you either visit a mass collection. I'm not talking about somebody with 100 or 200 snakes. I'm talking about a big collection, a big business, somebody that's got thousands of animals. You don't understand what it's like. and if you're complaining about cleaning 100
People,
snakes,
even if they should know what to understand, like Brian, you probably deal with this. People call you right at dinner time. You know what I mean? To ask for questions.
yeah.
Like you're, and that's like a small scale thing. And they should understand, like, people want to eat dinner with their family.
Yeah,
they know
yeah,
you're
yeah.
a family guy. Your family's all over your channel. But they call you at dinner time because they think it's more important to, like, ask you about their snake that just looked sideways or something like that. And you have to understand, like, you're asking me to set aside my wife and children who don't have another dad. You know what I mean? To answer your question that you can
snakes that you can find online,
or take it to a vet.
Yes.
If you're really that concerned, because a veterinarian is the person that I had 3 of the calls on the way here. Where I had to, and my office staff is telling me, "What's the answer to this? What's the answer to that?" It's if you're asking me about a snake you think is sick, take it to the vet.
Take it to the vet, yeah.
That is what they're for. I am not a vet. If I give you the wrong answer, your animal dies. Do you really want that? You want me to diagnose something over the phone?
Yeah.
I don't know if I've gotten lucky or if I've put out a certain vibe more recently. I don't get too much. I don't get many problems when anybody reaching out to me as far as that goes, like expecting more out of me than I'm willing to give. I get a lot of people contacting me, but I reply to them in my own time when I'm ready to do that. And
we get calls and messages at like 3 a.m. and people get upset with us. Like if we don't answer the phone or we don't answer the message, they're like, "You guys are nerd." And it's like, yeah, I know, but like we still are people. Like it's not.
Yeah.
We're still people.
I'll tell you what, it was eye-opening though. So like Jeremy, how long have you worked at Nerd?
I've been here for about a year and a half.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah,
it? I thought you had been there longer. Okay.
No, I've been coming up to Nerd for 12 plus years.
Okay,
but
so
just
you'll be
took
able
over.
to relate to this then.
Yeah.
Like I worked at Prehistoric Pets at one time, and people always think like that's how you got started in reptiles. You're like, well, no, I'm
No.
not.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Nobody works
exactly.
at a place like that if they weren't already like
Yeah.
balls deep in reptiles their
Yeah.
whole life. They were the freak on the block. All of us were, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, like I had this lifetime experience with reptiles, all kinds of reptiles. And you were showing us your collection earlier. You're like serial collector in there.
Yeah.
How many species do you have in a
like
room?
16 different
16
species or something.
in a 12 by 12 room or whatever. You know what I mean? Not small stuff either. And I was the same way. I had 400 animals at one point in my bedroom in my parents' house. You know what I mean? And someone asked me one time, "How many do you have?" And I was like, I should count. Like, I should
Never count.
Just
You never count.
So I counted one time, and it was 400 some.
Yeah.
So, anyways, but regardless of all the hobbyist experience that I had, when I went to go work for a big shop, it was eye opening. It was completely different because everything I did was it was very like artistic based, right? And it's a gut feeling, and it's emotive, and it's reactionary.
Yeah.
And then when you move to a place like that, it's scientific and it's processes and systems so that nobody gets left behind.
Yeah.
Because I might remember that this snake over here, you have to wiggle the rat to the left to get him to eat. But when you have 10,000 babies, that animal will die.
Yeah.
If you don't have a system to account for that. So it really is another level. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
You know, and I would encourage anybody that there's so many people now, it seems like you can't buy one snake. You have to buy a 1.1 and try to breed them of everything.
Yeah.
Which
Unfortunately.
I do think we've lost a little bit of the love of just having a nice pet.
Yeah.
You know, but I think anybody that does want to try to breed, go find a big shop and work there. Oh my gosh, you'll learn so much in a summer. You know what I mean? A lifetime's worth of experience, because if you think about it, even if I have 10 snakes and I've got them for 20 years, you can multiply the level of experience. If I'm working with 10,000 snakes for 3 weeks, it's like the same amount of experience.
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
Maybe even more, honestly.
I would say more.
My
Variety.
breeder Rob and I were talking about, because we had a conversation with Tim O'Reilly, who's the breeder over there.
Yep,
Everybody know. Yeah.
Everybody
Oh
knows
yeah,
Tim.
Tim
Yeah.
O'Reilly,
Timmy!
legendary.
Yeah,
Brian,
Timmy!
you know him
Yeah.
too. Legendary
met
retake
Tim.
breeder. So it was funny because I was talking about Rob, and I was talking about like how many clutches he had over how many years, and then we talked about like how many clutches of reticks that Tim O'Reilly had produced, and we came up with the math, and I'd have to get the exact number off him, but it was something like Rob would have to continue to maintain his, hobbyist breeder level breeding for like 275 years to equal what Tim O'Reilly has done so far.
now,
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It was crazy.
Yeah.
So go volunteer for a summer or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh
When was the
man.
last time you talked to Tim?
It's been a minute. Yeah. He doesn't answer the phone for me anymore.
Damn.
Tim.
Because you're working with them small snakes, boy.
Yeah. He likes the big one. Actually,
Them small snakes
Tim
the
was
devil.
Tim was my like advocate. He was like, "I love you, Garrett. Whatever you want to do, we'll do." And I'm like, "More super dwarves." And,
He's like,
and then
accept
Jay
that.
would come in and say anything but that.
Yeah.
It's actually because of Tim that Garrett and I know each other. Tim told me, he's like, you got to go. He found out I was going to Tinley. I was at Prehistoric talking with him. He's like, oh, Garrett is going. He's like, you know, Garrett. I was like, no, I don't. He's like, Garrett's going to be at Tinley. You got to meet up with him. He went and showed me his picture on a little picture out in front. He's like, you got to.
This guy right here?
That's the one. You have the hit information now. This is the one.
That was a really good weekend. That was a good. I think I kissed you before the weekend was over. So we hit it off right off the bat.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take a hard left turn. We do a little bit of a segment in these podcasts called Diving Deep in the Shallow End. So we're going to get off
topic. I was going to tell you about that when I was getting
Head
deep about
first.
Lucos and Leucistic.
Leucistic.
Oh.
Yep, that would have been a good one.
Okay.
No, that was getting too deep for him. We got to stay way more shallow than that.
No, we
okay.
can go down that. I just,
Well, here's so I want
it's
to hear
leucistic, motherfucker.
So, okay, we didn't get the bottom of that. We can't agree that it's a tomato thing.
No.
We
Well,
can't.
it's a green tomato to a red tomato. How about we just say that? So it's still a tomato, but there's still a difference.
Even with the
I don't give a shit.
information that
I don't,
provides you-
don't give
with
a single
the root
shit.
word being leukos, which
Nope, all set.
is Greek for white.
All set.
What about exanthic?
It's axanthic.
Okay, motherfucker, then fuck you.
Axanthic. It's not exanthic.
I've always said exanthic.
It's
Axanthic?
It's
Axanthic.
axanthic. That's not a tomato thing.
That's right.
It's axanthic.
You sit over there.
So it's leucistic.
That's a Bobby Wheatgrass
No.
thing.
But it can be leucistic.
If you want it to be
originally-
Brian, it can be whatever you want it to be. Just shut up and drink.
Well, here's my thing. If someone comes up to me and says it's leucistic, I just think in my head, I smile nicely at them. I say, "Oh, you're one of those."
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, you know Brian fucking Cusco.
or anybody in Australia or scientific.
Hey, they're the
field,
ones that
right?
decide to say Breadley,
Bread Lee.
but
it's not King Horna.
It's not King Horny.
Yeah, it's not King Horny. It's Bread Lee.
Yeah, but it's Breadley.
That's
I'm
the only
pretty sure
one
if
I
it's
can
Latin,
remember.
the I's are E.
Then King Horni should be
King Horny.
Right.
But
they
it's
said-
not.
they
Super horny.
Ask Australians, and they're like, not that one.
Not that one. Yeah.
All the other ones were.
Just because it's a little too provocative.
I guess. I don't know.
Maybe so.
I always thought Australians were provocative, so I don't know what their problem is.
Uranus, you know.
Hey. It's down for
All
a
right,
visit.
so how deep are we
Dive
diving?
deep in the left. Is it?
Well,
It's
the
very
shallow
deep.
end.
It's
So
the shallow end, but,
Deep in the
but
shallow
I
end.
want to
we're
talk
getting
deep
as
about
in the
as we
shallow
possibly
end.
can.
Okay,
And
you
Okay.
ready?
We're
So
talking
you-
about
Alright.
a foot and a half, maybe ankle deep, but you got to
So like
try
we're
and
finding octopus,
You're
or we're
swimming.
finding
submerge yourself.
Blue
in
rings.
that
Okay.
Submerge.
Blue ring.
water
Okay.
as much as possible.
drown in a half-inch of water. Go.
In a bowl of soup, you're like,
Lukewarm soup.
Sometimes we start off deeper. I don't know.
Yes. Oh, that's so awesome.
All right.
improv
By the
group.
way, guys, sometimes I need help with these questions. So jump on Facebook on that Searchable as Reptiles page and ask us our dive deep in the shallow ends. Help me
Garrett
out.
has literally one job on this podcast. Is to
And it's
come
too
up with
hard
this
for me, and I
one
need
question.
help. Yes,
Damn.
it is.
Damn.
That is too hard. I'm an expert delegator.
Can we ask you guys a question at the end of the end of the show?
You can ask
whatever
us
you want.
anything you want.
No. We're gonna ask our question at the end of the
Oh,
show.
okay. All right.
Absolutely.
Okay, so here's my question for you.
All right.
How come we got four dudes in a very small, rapidly temperature rising room here? This is the perfect scenario. This is kind of reminds me of
No, then the
Barcheck's,
Dave Kaufman will come
sauna.
in. Don't do
Wait,
that.
don't open the door. Dave Kaufman's out there.
It's a whiff of hair. Dave.
I think he's breathing through that hole, actually.
Oh my Lanta.
All right, so here's the question.
Right along.
This is definitely a question I wouldn't ask if Dave was in the room. Okay.
Oh boy.
How often do you shave your belly?
How come?
You're welcome.
We are going very
Okay.
deep in the shallow.
I'm the only one here who's not drinking.
I don't think we even need to ask the question anymore. It's like we got it. We're
sorry.
good. It's a wrap.
I'm sorry, everyone.
Okay.
Oh.
All right.
Okay, no,
Rob
this is
Christian,
what I
everybody.
want to ask. This is mostly so everyone driving their car or cleaning their reptile room can ponder this as well. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Why is it hot for a chick to do something that is generally like considered a guy's thing? So if you see like a semi-attractive girl driving a semi-truck, you're like, oh, dang. Danica Patrick, everyone thinks super hot. You saw her walking down the street, she's all right, but she's a race car driver. Same thing goes with like bass fishing pictures. If you get the hot chick in there, it's like a whole niche. You see what I'm saying? You see where I'm going with this? And I ask because it's kind of reptile industry.
But I'm curious.
Wait. No, don't say it. I'm going to let Rob handle that because, I mean, you're also asking
But wait,
that.
finish the question. What's the...
So the question is,
okay, all right.
Why is it attractive to dudes when girls act like dudes? Not so much like tomboy thing, but if they get involved in like generally like, quote unquote male activities.
Oh, dude, the answer to that is so simple, but I'm going to let one of these guys answer.
Well,
Well,
I'll let Rob answer it
spoil
because
Jeremy's mostly gay.
I'm mostly gay, so.
Mostly gay.
Yeah.
Mostly gay.
Have you met my Rob? He's definitely in that mostly gay area too.
I tweaked his nipple and he's like, I gotta leave. I gotta go.
He acts like it when it comes down to it. When it comes down to the time to pound, he Rob's out, dude.
I haven't
Rob's
haven't
running.
found the line with him. You joke with Rob, it just keeps going, and I've always bow out first. But anyways, so you should meet Rob because I kind of want to know where his line is. Actually.
I'm not here to find out your lines, Garrett. You're not delegating that task.
Garrett,
Rob, can you take care of Jeremy for me over here? I'm delegating this one hard.
I just gotta
Not that kind of hard.
Garrett, I thought that you were the king of the percentages here.
King
I
Horneye?
was gonna say. I love the term mostly gay. That's
Yeah, mostly gay. Okay.
Can be persuaded.
The correct term is bisexual. If we really
a heavy
want to break
preference
down
for
to
men.
It, it's just a heavy preference for men.
You're in the right room. Well, I mean,
No, we're not.
No, we're being serious.
We're actually not. Yeah.
Okay. I'll have some more then.
I think I think that
you not so?
my answer for that question
Okay.
would be relatability. People think that they want someone who they can share interests with, and that shared interest is going to be the foundation of something important. And if you are someone who is moderately attractive, but you're interested in something that I'm also interested in, it makes us feel similar, or someplace where we can find some common ground and build on that to something else. So people are like, oh, maybe I could have a life with this person. Maybe. And then it's like, probably not.
that's
that
my
was
answer,
deep.
but you said it better than I would have.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, I'm glad it was easy because I was like, man, I'm going to answer this and customers would be like, you idiot, it was
No, that's
this.
literally exactly right. No, we got a lot of things that teaching people reptiles and getting most we've got we're here except for leucistic and axanthic apparently, but okay, it's all right.
Cool.
So that's what you're gonna say too. Similar interests, shared activities,
Oh
fun
yeah,
stuff
I mean
you can do together.
A girl that enjoys something you're doing, you don't have to like go and play Barbie dolls or something.
Less
I know that's
friction.
like we're going back to elementary school with that, but
Sure.
like if you got a girl that wants to sit around and play Barbie dolls and do tea parties, which I love doing with my daughter now, but when I was at the age of dating and no, that's not what I wanted. I didn't want to do that. I would rather go fishing or do something like that, drive a truck, roll in the dirt. And if you find a girl that's willing to do it, wrestle. If a girl's willing to do that to the same level you are,
Let's wrestle.
then that's awesome. So
Yeah,
How
did you
about-
have weigh in on it, Jeremy?
mostly gay, Jeremy.
That can't be his name.
Have another fucking drink.
I forgot to ask, do you guys swear on your show or no? Are we
Well,
blowing
they
this
brought
up?
me on here,
Yeah,
so it's too fucking
It's
bad.
too late.
I think
It's
we
too
lost-
late now,
I
but
think there was one
it's
episode where we lost
adult-oriented.
half of our subscribers because I swore at our audience.
oh,
Oh, well, I don't do that, but
I
I'll swear
fucking
at the
love you
people in the
guys.
room. I mean, on the gay side, I mean, I certainly do appreciate if somebody has a somewhat similar interest in what I'm doing. But I mean, I'll tell you, I don't think I've ever gone on a date and led in with, so I keep reptiles.
yeah.
That's not a thing. Because
Maybe
most
you
of the
should
time,
try that.
because most of the time it's like, you what? Like, I usually end up always leading in with, I'm a musician.
Yeah. See, keeping reptiles is
More
like the most
palatable.
normal thing about me, so I'm always just like, yeah, I keep reptiles. If they get past
Preconceived
that,
notions about you being rich.
then they can.
Exactly.
I gotta
exactly.
say, hey,
it doesn't help when the date starts after a gig and I've got like the diamond ring, the diamond watch, and I'm in the get up and they're like, oh, he fancy. It's like, no, sorry, I got some
is
snake
all I
poop to go
have.
clean after this.
It's funny though the way
You
the way
like
you
this?
mentioned
You
that,
should
'cause
see my ball python collection.
It's funny the way you mentioned that because I met
carpet
my
pythons.
wife like
Like
as
all
a,
decked
as,
out.
as a musician.
Yeah.
And then she didn't find out about the reptile stuff till we were married.
Ooh, you held that. That was. Listen, I have one final secret now that you've completed the vows.
I'm the opposite. It's like first date, the zoo.
Yep.
And then I quiz them. Like, okay, I'm going to go around once and tell you all the common names. And if we go around the second time, you can repeat it. We're going Latin.
No,
Yes, that's
Dude, I have
me.
something new
That's
right now.
me.
Hold on, I want to say
Literally
something
do
for
this.
Rob with
Yeah.
his reptiles being the most normal thing. Your questions that you post like on Facebook.
Oh,
the
yeah,
things
yeah,
you
my
ask
question
people,
of the day.
I love what
Good.
you do. Like it's always something different to get people thinking. Like it's other than just here, look at what I saw on the internet, and I'm going to regurgitate it. Like you always have get people. I love those.
And I, if you're not friends with me on Facebook, don't add me. But if,
Are you talking about on his personal
my
page
personal-
or for
yes,
Nick?
on my personal
okay. I was
page,
gonna say, I haven't seen him.
I do a question of the day where
They're always interesting.
where I
Oh,
try and
yes, I've
post
seen-
things
I've
to get
definitely
people to
seen
think
these.
about what's going on. And I have got friends from like all paths of life. Like I've got about 4,000 friends on my Facebook right now.
Stop bragging.
No. I say that and people are like, oh, well, that's like you're just collecting friends on Facebook. In person, I probably know about 1,500 to 2,000 of them.
That's a
like,
lot.
In person, I know almost all of them.
That is a lot.
So there's a lot of people on there who I don't know, but a lot of the people I know
I
on my
told you we
Facebook-
had staff people that came up to me and was like, "Oh, go tell Rob I said hi."
Yeah.
When I was going up there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know I've got friends that are heavy on the conservative side. I've got lots of friends who support
Why are you
the
pointing at
Second
me?
Amendment.
I can neither confirm or nor deny.
Oh no, I'm just.
It's
I
just
was
the
going-
lean.
I
It
was
was
going
just
around.
the lean. It's
Just
all right.
going around. But I've got friends on the crazy left end of the spectrum. I got friends on the crazy right end of the spectrum. I got lots of people who are in the middle. I got like anarchists who are like, no, there should be no rules. Kill everybody. Who cares? And so when I post those questions, I think it's always interesting because most of the people on social media, they only friend the same people who think the exact same way that they do.
which is very
Which
unhealthy
is
for
really,
society.
really unhealthy
Yeah.
for society. And you don't get that pushback or that push to think. And so on my page, I like to pose questions that get people on both sides kind of engaged or whatever side you're on. It just gets people to input. And then you might read something on there that goes, oh, I never would have ever thought of something like that because no one in my circle thinks like that. And I like that sort of stuff because it always keeps me thinking of ways that I
Super
can.
healthy. It's one of
Yep.
the most healthiest ways I've seen somebody use Facebook. To be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually like next level thinking though, because see, you mentioned regurgitating information. I think regurgitating information is exactly what you need to do in the beginning. So like if I give you a corn snake and you haven't learned
like,
anything
literally
about
find
it, and you want to let's go ahead and
When I
rethrink all
said
the care sheets.
regurgitate, I've meant literally seen some post on Facebook and then just like sharing a link. So that's what I
okay.
meant.
Yeah.
No, I thought you meant just like because
It's like, oh, look at this that
like
I saw.
I'll
on the
see
internet.
people
some
like
facts you've heard.
I'll talk about something, you know, like I have my educational channel and I'll educate people about something, and then I love when they take that and
information.
they pass it on.
Yes.
Because there's plenty of people that regurgitate bad information.
Ooh,
but
that.
But they're ignorant. They're ignorant.
Yeah.
Not well, I was going to say not in a bad way, but it is a bad way.
Yep.
But it's not really
in a
their
malicious
fault.
way. Not in
yeah,
a
not in
malicious
a
way.
malicious way. So they're just repeating what they've been told from someone that they consider reputable.
Yes.
Which is one of the most important things about people like, well, everybody in this room has a platform where people are looking at us in one way or another. And you can see that, like, so from Nerd, let's say you guys do something dangerous or stupid on YouTube. Boy, oh my
I don't wanna
gosh,
talk
are
about
you
it.
getting flack? Well, you're getting it back. You
Yes.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're getting
Yeah.
hate.
Yeah.
But the reason why I think it's healthy for us to consider like where that stuff is coming from, because if there's a lot of people without platforms spewing hate at us that have platforms for misrepresenting something they love, it's a good thing. Right? Okay, so follow me here. If I have a big snake and my whole channel is based on letting it bite me all the time, You know what I mean? And being like, oh, this thing's so dangerous and I got to get in here and fight it all the time. I would probably get tons of views. But if I'm getting hate back on that, it's because other people love snakes. And just because of their size or they're misunderstood doesn't mean that they should be universally feared. Mm-hmm. So I think that even if they have to almost bully you to shy you away from that behavior so that they can save what they love, I think that's a good thing, and that it's important for those of us who do have a platform to kind of consider that. Because here's the thing. If people love you, they're just going to brown nose. They're going to suck up to you all the time. They're going to tell you you're wonderful. And it's nice to hear that stuff.
I hate that shit.
But, well, I mean, so all of us have dealt with some kind of drama on social media, even recently. You know what I mean? Like, you know, all of us were involved. You're joking around about the dwarf percentages thing.
Yeah.
Right? So you get that kind of stuff. But I will tell you this. My old football coach used to tell me this. He said, you know, Garrett, if somebody criticizes you, they're the person you should listen to. And he said, but some people just hate you, and they're going to say something. If you're smart, you can tell the difference. If they say, Garrett, haha, you're stupid because your name rhymes with carrot or something like that, they got nothing on you, and you can just walk away. Don't even give them the time of day, because there are those people.
Kids do that to you. They want to name all the snakes Carrot. Carrot rhymes with carrot. Can we name the snake Carrot because it came from Garrett?
That's different because they're doing it out of love. They love both carrots and their Uncle Garrett. But if somebody comes to you and they say, you know, your vocabulary sucks, you know what I'm saying? That's something that, like, your mama doesn't tell you. You know what I'm saying? So my football coach used to say, stop a minute and strip away any emotions that come from the hater. You know what I mean? Take away that kind of defensive reaction that you automatically have right in the beginning and think, is any part of this true? And if it is, he said, the way you deal with it is this. The way you disarm them is you just say, thank you, I'll work on that, and walk away. Mm-hmm. And he says, you become a better person, and you disarm them immediately. And, you know, I mean, this was my high school football coach.
I've done that a lot, actually, with different, because I do try to do that when I get comments like that.
Oh, you're famous for it. It's like your whole MO.
Is what?
You know what I mean? Well, just listening to hate. Like, you address hate on your channel constantly. I think the reason why Tim O'Reilly wanted to put us together is because both you and I are, like, very, very motivated to improve as human beings. Mm. And that comes through criticism. Because the thing is, like, if we were aware of our shortcomings, we either deny or we don't care, or we say, that's too hard, I can't get over it, or we're just not aware. And so if you can not react immediately, you can become much more self-aware.
It ends up being a good thing for both the person that was commenting often. Like, I'll respond in that way, like, oh yeah, you know what, actually, and then they'll come back and be like, even if they were coming off literally like kind of trying to be a dick, like not being nice about whatever the criticism was, more often than not they'll come back and be like, you know, I was having a bad day, and like I see blah blah blah, and you know, it ends up being a positive interaction after the fact.
Well, you care about relationships. I don't. I only care about myself. That's where the similarities end. I'm like, thanks, douchebag. You just made me better. Sucker! Eat it! I'm better than you now.
We definitely differ in that.
Everyone knows my name because it rhymes with carrot.
Oh, God.
You're right. I only do that with people that I know. I only act like that with my friends.
Yeah.
Someone
amazing.
just threw a bottle at Garrett, and he's like, I'm going to recycle this. I got 5 cents. Fuck you.
Recycle, baby.
Yeah,
Save the
like,
planet.
I'm making money and saving the planet.
I like
you littered, yeah.
Did you say something about you? Some kind of circle thing was about to happen here? I thought what were you talking about?
No, the shallow, the
I
diving into the shallow
have
end.
a different take on the chick thing.
Yes.
I do. So actually, you guys had like a phenomenal answer. But I think that there's something, and this might not be more universal. So probably the more universal attraction to like somebody who, you know, opposite sex or maybe kind of sort of the same sex, you know, that you're really attracted to is similar interests. That actually makes a lot of sense. And funny enough, I was coming at it from my own perspective, so I never even considered that. Even though once you guys said it, once you guys said it, it was like, okay, yeah, that was obvious. That was a stupid question because it's almost a very obvious answer. But I actually had a different one. So my thing is like, it's almost like there was a girl named Michelle.
It's almost like there was a girl named Michelle. That sounds
almost
very
like
specific.
that.
Almost.
Names and likenesses have been changed for this podcast.
It's not exactly Michelle. No, her name was.
Almost like Michelle.
Well, I'll
Her
shout her
name
out.
was Michael.
Yeah.
I'll shout her out because A, she'll never hear this, and B, if she does, I take this as a compliment. There was a girl that's name was Michelle Lindsay that I sat behind.
Oh,
in
we're
school.
doxing people.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mrs. F's
address.
Mrs. F's 12th grade AP English class. Okay, and Michelle Lindsay was tall, and she used to have like self-confidence issues with it, but I always liked it. So she was about 2 inches taller than me, right? And, you know, a lot of girls that are taller than guys would kind of like slouch over and walk around like that. But Michelle wouldn't. She'd throw her shoulders back and strut. You know what I mean? And I thought she was like the hottest freaking thing. Like just that alone. Mm-hmm. And you know what I mean?
I knew a girl
and
like
there
that.
is, and I'm sorry, girl, if you're listening and you're a girl and you're tall, like I feel for you. Like that's a difficult thing. I don't know why. But it just it's stupid, but it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'll tell you what, the very fact that she was confident in that made me like super attracted to her. I thought she was like smoking hot for that alone, right? Doesn't she sound hot? And I didn't even tell you what she looks like.
Well, it's not for,
You know
that's
what
not
I'm
for
saying?
being into something guy-like. Though.
No,
It's
no,
just
no,
for
no,
literally
but-
physically being
but-
bigger.
But
Taller.
I use her as an example, and this is why I don't mind if she hears this, because I think she would like to hear that I was attracted to her or whatever because of that. You know,
And she's like,
But-
Garrett was gross. I can't believe that he said he was attracted to
It
that.
Doesn't he
matter.
work with snakes now? What
it
the
doesn't
hell?
matter. Even if someone's gross and they say you're awesome, it feels good. So, but
Yeah, you got me there.
The similarity is this: she presented like there was an intimidation and a little bit of a challenge there, and so I think maybe a lot of people would back away from that. So here's the thing: I mentioned the hot chick that's a truck driver. I remember feeling like I was this big man or whatever when I was like 17, and my dad let me drive the Dodge Dually. It was a '93 12-valve Cummins Dodge. Oh my gosh, I wish I had that truck today. You truck people know what I'm talking about. Last year, the good stuff. Anyway, big old 4-wheel drive dually, and I'm like, driving this big diesel manual down the road, and I felt like this big dog or something like that at 17, right, driving this thing. And this chick drives by. I still remember, 17 years old, I remember this. Yellow semi-truck. She drives up, and this girl looks like Daisy Duke or something like that. You know what I mean? And she kind of like looks at me, and I'm like, oh, draw to the floor. You know, and she drives by and just gives me like a little wink, like she's seen it a million times and drives on. And she pulls forward, and she's driving like a logging rig full of these big, like probably like Oregon, whatever, pine trees, because this is in California. And she's driving down, I forget, maybe the 5 or something like that. I thought it was so freaking hot because I thought I'm cool driving a Dodge 350. You know what I mean? This chick is like 2-3 years older than me, driving a big rig full of logs. You know what I mean? Like it was nothing. Okay, so embarrassing part of the story. I followed her for like 3 hours.
That's
hoping
terrifying.
she would pull over so that I could just buy her a cup of coffee and tell her she was awesome. And she never did, and I had to turn around and go back.
You know, I did that to Kim at a reptile show one time.
Kimberly
Oh my
paused, followed her for 3 hours.
I don't know if it was 3 hours.
Kim, are you listening? How come?
Oh,
Why
boy.
did you follow Kim?
Because it was a girl that was
She's
into
a good
reptiles,
example. Yeah.
and I was like, and then just like dressed different, like just like with the unicorn.
Yeah, and
stuff.
she's confident.
And I was like, "Whoa, this!" My buddy Josh was with me too, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Look,
Look over there. Do you see it?
I'm just saying, I have a story kind of like that."
Yeah. Well, and it, you know, I mean, like, okay, maybe it's creepy, whatever, but that's something. Honestly, like,
Just a little.
Coming from creeping it real.
Yeah.
yeah, this was random person or whatever. But so I stopped worrying about creepy a long time ago. Me and Dave have this in common. Horn lifter! I love you, Dave Kaufman. I stopped worrying about being creepy a long time ago because I realized that I was pulling punches in life where it mattered. You guys are still laughing about the
It's because it's
Diss.
really
Because
good.
you can probably hear that hole.
He's breathing through this hole. I can smell his beard.
That's not
You know
creepy.
what I mean? Oh my god. No, but here's the truth. I started. This is gonna sound really weird until I finish the sentence, but I started practicing on my friends' wives.
Me too.
Okay.
When I was young, like we've all hit this point, you know, like you know,
Right.
you're in your 20s and like a couple of your buddies are like now married and you're not. we're always comparing ourselves to other people. So you're like, what's wrong with me? Why is everyone getting married and I'm not finding love and happiness? But anyway, that didn't happen for you? Okay, well, not relatable story.
Because he
Here
was
we
the
go.
first one of the guys to get married.
Yeah.
First one to have my license, all those things.
Yeah. Well, so like as guys, it's hard because sometimes you think really nice things about people and you want to tell them, but you're afraid they'll come across creepy or like you want something from them, right? And maybe sometimes you do, I guess, whatever. Maybe that you are a creep or whatever.
In Garrett's case, it's usually the case.
I'm super creepy, actually.
Always wants something extra.
Yeah, but no, I mean,
Carrot is creeping
the
it
truth
real.
of the matter was, and I started doing this. It kind of happened on accident, but I complimented like one of my buddy's wives, and I told her she looked really good that day, and there was no threat because like we were good buddies. So it would be like if I complimented Hillary, that would be no big thing to you. It wasn't like a threatening way or any, you know what I mean? It's like with all due respect, but like your wife's smoking hot today, you know what I mean? And I don't know if you're like me in that. If you told my wife that, I'd be like, yes, because I know she needs to hear that. And if I tell her, she's like, nah, whatever, you're my husband, you have to say that. So if she hears it from another guy, it actually helps her confidence.
Well, hopefully you're secure. If it's your wife, you are secure enough in that. Then
Not everybody is. I am, yeah.
Signed legal documents.
It doesn't work for some people, trust me.
That's fair. Yeah.
But at one point, I think I was probably 25, and I complimented this gal that was like the office girl at the place that I worked. I didn't see her very often, but it was like a corporate event or whatever, and she had a dress on, and she was a girl that was like, it's always like jeans and a t-shirt type of deal or whatever, and you just get used to her. And her name was Angela. I was the only person that was allowed to call her Angie, so I always thought that was cool. But she shows up and she's like all dolled up, makeup, big gown, because it was like a fancy event and everything. And I was like, oh my god, Angela, you're like phenomenally hot, and she was probably 20 years older than me, and she started crying. Broke down crying, ruined all her makeup and everything.
Like, not anymore.
And I was like, I'm sorry. And she's like, you know what? It was worth it just for that. But she was just like, you're like a young single guy, all this kind of stuff. And the fact that you noticed and said something, you know what I mean? Absolutely, that made my decade. I didn't care about the makeup anymore. And I was like, oh, holy shit, that's deep. That's big. If I can have that kind of an impact on somebody, I don't want to miss the opportunity because I'm afraid of what they'll think about me. Truth of the matter is, I mean, we've already discussed it. I don't care what anybody thinks about me. So
that's not true.
I might as well say nice stuff to people.
27.5%
So I
of the
love
time.
telling them the truth.
I think that has a bigger implication though than just like someone who you find attractive. Because like when I started working at Nerd, like when I was way back when I was a kid, I had cutouts from Reptiles magazine of Along Came a Spider and like
I remember the ad.
and,
Oh my
the
gosh,
ads
with
in
the
Reptiles
honey
magazine. Yep.
Yeah.
I had
And
those
I'm
cut
not a
out
ball python guy, but oh
taped
my gosh,
to my wall,
that was a great
right?
ad.
With
Hell yeah.
VPIs stuff. I had printouts of their website when we got a computer eventually, and I had like all this stuff on my wall. And then the first couple times that I came to Nerd and I met Kevin, just talking to him a little bit, he's like, "Hey, you're like really smart." And I'm like, "Oh my fucking god, Kevin McGurley just said that I'm fucking smart." And it wasn't because he's like, "Hey, you're attractive." I like
you
that.
thought he was
but
hot.
like
Be honest.
the ponytail. It's the ponytail.
Oh,
It is the ponytail.
It's not too tight for you.
No, something to hold on to.
Yeah, but it's like
Okay.
you might slip.
We
right
just
through your
got
hand.
mostly gay.
Yeah.
I'm not even drinking.
You're welcome.
But to the point, like, I was like, just like, going from having cutouts of Along Came a Spider and taped onto my wall to like meeting the guy who did it, and then him being like, "Hey, you can actually like hold your own in a conversation with me." That doesn't always happen because Kevin knows so much about so many things, because like I am really great at reptiles. You talk about most reptiles, like we were talking about the new chalice. I know what those are.
Congratulations.
But like most people wouldn't know what you're talking
If you're
about.
listening and you know what new chalice is, you can pretend to be smart by jumping on Searchable as Reptiles and saying, "I knew."
Yeah,
I know
in the
of it
comment
because
section.
The rest of
I
you-
know of it because of friends like you guys.
Yeah, but like the average reptile person wouldn't know.
Do you know what no
So-
chalice is?
because of friends like you guys.
Okay,
and
yeah.
Forrest.
Do you
to
know
start
what new
with.
chalice
Yeah.
is?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, so we all know. Okay,
Listen
we're
here,
even.
Jeremy.
Go ahead.
Jeremy doesn't know. He's a poser.
I'm not hip. Whatever. You fucking believed it though.
But Kevin knows so much, like, because when he talks about stuff, most of the time I'm like right there with him. Okay, anything that's got to do with reptiles, I'm like right there. I get it. Like, unless it's like medicating things, I'm like, I just don't know enough about that stuff because I haven't done as many things as you have. But like when it comes to like birds and stuff, he still knows everything, and I'm like, I don't know anything about birds at all. Like they taught me how to hand feed baby birds at Nerd when I started working there, and
I did a whole interview revolving around chickens on our YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
That was great. I
really
remember
sorry.
setting that up, and then I was like, I saw the intro clip, and I was like, this fucker sat by the chickens.
What's funny is I did that with Lindy. One of the first interviews I did on Triple B TV was with Lindy. We sat in Jesse's backyard, and there were chickens just going off.
What is it with all these reptile people and freaking chickens?
I have chickens.
What is it with all these reptile people and freaking
It's pretty
chickens?
much a little T-Rex, right? Have you ever seen naked necks? Those are the best.
Yeah, we've got one.
Do you?
At Nerd,
I like
yeah.
those.
You'll see him. You'll see
like
him
those.
strutting around.
I used to
It's
have some.
gross.
Yeah. Sorry, Rob. Go ahead. Yeah. Hard left turn.
Chicken adventure.
You brought up the birds.
I know. So like when it came down to it, after sitting down and talking to Kevin, and he's like, "Oh, like you actually know about things," and getting that compliment, getting that affirmation that it's not just because every now and again I know a decent amount about reptiles, and every now and again I'm like, man, I really don't know anything about anything. And then someone will post like a picture, like a grainy picture of some sort of snake, and they're like, "What type of snake is this?" And I'm like, "It looks like." Sandy, looks like something, and then I message it to him. They look it up. That's exactly what it is, and I'm like, okay, that's okay. And it's like one thing coming from someone who knows nothing about reptiles to be like, oh, you guessed the identity of this snake in this horrible potato picture snake, and it's one thing to like get that right, but then to have like the people who you like looked up to give you that like, hey, you're doing it. I'm impressed. That is just like something completely different. So like when I get people who message me on my Instagram and they'll ask me a question about something and I'll answer them back and they're like, I was not expecting you to answer just then. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's happened to you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Every other day.
Yeah. And they're like, I was not expecting you to answer that
someone
question.
famous said hi to me.
Exactly.
Am I really famous?
Yeah.
Maybe
27.5%
I go into McDonald's and they tell me to
horizons.
get the hell out. Like, but getting that little bit of like,
Let that go.
affirmation, getting that little bit of, reassurance, even if, it's not someone who you think is attractive, just getting that little bit of, hey, you're doing a good job is like so important. And going back to the programs that I used to do, I get people who are like, oh, 4 years ago, you sold me my first snake. And now I've got, look at all these different things that I'm doing. And like, that is so cool to me. And, it's not coming from a place of like, oh, yeah, I was, intending that to happen, but seeing where people go as their lives go.
It's better when they don't want something. And that's the key, too. It can't be flattery.
Yeah.
So, like, when I do it, I just try to make it takes practice. But if I think somebody I did it to you earlier, Brian. I was like, dude, you lost a lot of weight, even since the last time I saw you. Whatever you're doing is working. Yeah. And you're making me, like, feel like a schlump over here. But, like, Brian's, like, freaking cut right now. Yeah, no, I told you that because I thought it. I was like, oh, you look different. I can see it in your face and everything. And so I don't know if it matters to you or not, but I'm going to do my part because I had a nice thought. Why keep that to myself?
I've been doing that a lot too recently because I was very, very quiet growing up and into even my early adulthood, and I've made more of a point. Like if I'm thinking something, and I'd always have these weird moments where I'm thinking this thing that's something nice about something. Like I'm thinking it, and for some reason I'm reserved and I don't know how they're gonna take it. Or
why do we do that?
I don't know
Because we say every stupid thing without filtering it.
But I stopped.
So why do we not?
I don't know.
Why do we filter the nice things?
I don't know, but I stopped doing it. And
well, this is Garrett, completely unfiltered for the rest of life. Get used to it.
Wait, is this the Unfiltered Reptile Podcast?
I stopped doing it with when we're sitting with Clint and his
That
family.
one's
I met
taken.
for the first time. We're sitting out front of this gas station, just sitting there, and like I was just feeling this. I was like just feeling this great energy come from their family. Their kids were there, and we're having.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Clint.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh, yeah.
Yeah, and
Have you guys met Clint?
Oh yeah, he came up.
he
He came up to
to
Nerd.
Nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a great guy.
Yeah,
He's awesome,
And I was
man.
just like, dude, I gotta say, and I felt that old thing coming up in me, like I'm feeling this thing about these people, and there's this weird part of me not wanting to say anything. I'm holding it back, and I was like, what am I doing? I'm like almost 40, and I was like, dude, I love you guys. Like, you guys are awesome. You guys are the type of people that's
exactly it. You're being vulnerable.
Yes.
And I think what it
Fear
is,
of
the reason
rejection.
why we filter that is because we're actually saying how we really feel, and we don't want to experience maybe rejection or judgment because of who we actually are.
Yeah.
So we pretend to
If
be
you're
somebody
messing
else.
around and someone's like, that's stupid, don't do that, it's whatever, because it wasn't your actual genuine feelings. If you say something genuine that comes from down in here and then someone rejects you for it, that's like incredibly painful. But, you know, in those moments like you were having with Clint, you know, that is something that, you know, he was opening up his family, his home, his life, his love to you guys. And that's something that I try and post on my Facebook every now and again, is like, hey, stop saving I love you for one person who is like your life person. You should tell the people who matter to you that you love them all the time. Yeah. All the time. Because we don't hear that from the people who matter to us. We don't hear it enough. And I don't care if anyone says, well, I only say that to my wife, and that only when we're going to bed and on our anniversary and on Christmas. But like, too many people save that.
I love you,
and
Ashley.
Dude, I had a moment just like that with my nephew. And like, my nephew means the world to me, man. Like, I love that kid. And when he was about 2 years old, he's 5, almost 6 now. When he was about a year old or 2 years old, he had come up to Nerd to visit. And you know, he was checking out the fish. He was like enamored with the fish. So I'm walking through the fish room with him and pointing out the fish and looking at stuff.
You guys have fish at Nerd?
We do. We have a full pet store.
I'm gonna do like a whole tour on my channel tomorrow.
Yeah, you need. I mean, you're not gonna be able to get everything.
It'll be a run through. It'll be fine. But I at
Yeah.
least want people, because like I've seen the Nerd stuff online, but this is I still can't believe that it's the first time I've been here.
I don't believe it.
True. Yeah, you're
It's
freaking
so
slacking.
stupid.
Yeah.
It is really
You're just
dumb
slacking,
that
dude.
I haven't. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
So I'm walking through the fish room and pointing out the fish with him. And before he leaves, you know, I was like, come here, give me a hug. And he came up and like, he gave me a hug and like squeezed me real tight. I just look over him. I just like kissed the top of his head. And I was like afraid to do that. And I was like, this is my family. This is like someone who's important to me. And, you know, that shame and stigma from our society of like, men shouldn't show emotions like that, and you should just hold back those feelings, or you should only give it to one person. You shouldn't let that your feelings be known for whatever reason. I was like, I can't believe that was like stuck in my mind before that happened. And like now, every time I see that kid, I grab him, I give him a big hug, I kiss him right on the top of the head, and I'm like, kid, I love you. Don't ever forget that. I love you.
I had a really similar moment, like the shame from wanting to withhold from that. So, except this, I have a sister that's 10 years younger than me. Her name is Brittany. I love her. And I was in high school, so maybe I was like 14. She's 4, let's say, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it was that's probably accurate, because I think I was like a freshman. You're in a new campus. You're trying to look cool. Yeah. My mom and my sister are dropping me off, and I love my sister. We did so many things together. You've met Brittany. If you talk to her, she'll tell you all kinds of stories about how I tortured her when she was young. But Brittany, I know that I'm your favorite, so you know what I mean. Those were all good times. But anyways, and I remember this specifically. She ran up to give me a big hug, and all my friends were standing around, and I was like, not right now. You know what I mean? And then just like the look on her face of being like, why not?
Do you not love me? Yeah.
Well, just like, are you ashamed of me in front of your friends? And it was just a very brief moment, and then she jumped in the car and left. I felt like the worst person for the rest of the day. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with me? I'm not going to, like that. I don't care about any of these people. The one person I care about is my kid sister. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I put her down in front of everybody else. What a low human being I am. It hurts me to tell the story now. I feel guilty about it 30 years later or whatever. But yeah, I went home. I gave her a big hug. I said, I love you so much. You're the best person in the world. You know what I mean? And just did what I could to make up for it. But I remember that. Yeah. Just like you're telling this story with your nephew. And like, I'll tell you what, guys. Like, all right, so I've met you before. I've met you before very briefly and always like reptile shows.
Yep.
Right? But I will tell you guys, like, how many people do you meet at a reptile show?
Oh my God.
How many people don't you meet?
Yeah, right. That's probably an easier
Well,
number.
and we're talking
Yeah.
about like NARBC or Tinley. Or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Every
So
person
thousands
I know
upon thousands of people.
hates going to shows with me because it's like I get stopped every couple feet by people who are like, "Oh my God, hurrah, I got
Yeah.
something."
But here's the thing: you can meet thousands of people, but there will be like a half a dozen that stand out to you in that day. And you guys are like, we're sitting in the room with two people, and you and I met at Tinley too. You know what I mean? And so it's funny that the four of us are here. And when you actually meet somebody, this is my point. When you meet somebody that is truly authentic, it takes about 10 seconds to realize it.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? You don't know a lot about that person, but like you and I talked, and you said, and I remember this, you're like, you need to come hang out at Nerd sometime.
Yes.
You know, and I've been meaning to get up here ever since that invite, because I mean, like I worked at Prehistoric, I've been everywhere. I've been in Germany visiting reptile collections, you know, retic collections, and I've not been here before.
You're
But,
welcome.
but it's been even without this, and honestly, that was the biggest driving factor. But even without this, ever since you invited me, Rob, to come up, that's been like, you know what, he's right, and I need to get there.
You got it, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think we go back to like the vote with your dollar and who needs to stay in the industry and stuff. And it's like, guys that are listening, this is so important. When you buy a snake and it's the best deal, or it's from someone you've never heard of, or from whatever the case may be, you really don't know what impact you're having.
Right.
You know, but if you're like, you know what, I love this guy, I love these people, and even if it was more money, I would rather invest that money into good, authentic people who make the hobby and the industry a better place to be. We're joking around about dwarf percentages because there was a big argument about nerd and stuff like this with dwarf stuff.
Yeah.
And to me, the funny thing was, you know, we came up and we saw Kevin, and he's like, "Oh, you brought this guy."
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Here it comes. Here it comes.
The funny thing is, I like sitting there in the same room at the same time. I took it completely differently. When he said, "Oh, you brought this," this is what I heard in my mind. This is what I heard and saw was, "Oh, you brought this guy. You didn't tell me he was coming." Like I thought he was like happy about it.
Because the very next sentence, he's like, did you bring Rodney too?"
Yeah.
I'm 3 glasses in and I'm not pulling any punches or whatever. But like there was a lot of drama and stuff about this stuff. And here's the thing is like, I don't know why or how or whatever. I've like people want me to be like the police of the world of what everyone else is doing or whatever. But the fact of the matter is everybody's human. And I, oh my gosh, I'm not even going to go into the drama because I don't like it, but you guys came out shining. And it wasn't because you did the right thing. And the funny thing is, like, in that situation, there was someone that was, like, technically or informationally correct and someone that was, like, incorrect, I suppose. The correct person didn't actually need to ever be involved, but whatever. So,
I wish I knew what the hell you were talking about.
oh, good. I'm glad you don't. Yeah. I mean,
We're not talking about it.
Yeah.
But here's my point. You guys were technically incorrect about something, but your character showed at the end of the day. You know what I mean? And if I didn't love Nerd already, I loved it after all that drama because of what you guys are as a company. You know, basically what happened was like a miscommunication. It's a common mistake like everybody makes, but you guys fessed up. Kevin came on, you know what I mean? And he spoke his piece. Everybody addressed it head on. Everything was taken care of in a more than appropriate way. It was, you know, and it was great to see that. And I was like, I even commented, I was the first one to comment after Kevin's statement. I was like, see, right here, guys.
This is what it is. Yeah.
This is why you would buy from someone like Nerd instead of some of these other options that you have. Because even if something happened, which happens to all of us, we like to pretend we're perfect, but come on, guys,
shit
seriously,
happens.
is anybody perfect? Yeah, come on. And it's like, even if something happened, they've got you. They're going to take care of you.
Right.
And I hope that Nerd continues to do the future long into, because it's not even about Kevin anymore. Like, Kevin came on to say his 2-piece. There was a forum. I saw people talking about Kevin, so I invited him to come address it himself. And then it just all hell broke loose, and I ended up feeling bad.
I'm not in that group, so I just was like, you guys can handle all that stuff.
I'm perfect. 92% of the time.
Yeah. Well, that's a very high percentage compared to me.
It's almost pure.
Yeah, almost pure.
Some people would call that pure.
as you
Yeah.
can get. Okay, I understand what's happening.
That's 7 generations right there.
Now I get it.
That's at least 92% is factually
pretty good.
actually after 87 and a half, 92 some odd is the next one. Yeah, but anyway, no, the thing about it is what I take from it.
Spoke the master.
Everyone, it's almost like we were talking about, like I said, show me Burma on the map. You know what I mean? It's like, guys, we love reptiles. We love this life with reptiles, and we even got a little bit dark about our customers on this episode a little bit. Even though we said, and I hope you guys are listening, you heard it, we framed it with we love our customers, and most of them are great.
Right.
Yeah.
But here's the thing is like, the four of us wouldn't be here if we didn't like interacting with people with common interests revolving around reptiles.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? This room is plenty of spacious.
But I mean,
I'm sorry.
like it's all about, for me, it's always been about the people that are in the industry. If there was a species of reptiles that I loved, but I hated everyone that worked with them, I don't know that I would own that reptile.
Probably not.
No, I would.
Or you
rather
would,
be-
but not publicize anything about it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you'd have to be like a closet keeper or whatever.
Yeah.
So like that was fun for me because it was a little bit of an underdeveloped niche that I got into, and I was like, I have the opportunity to build a positive community in here. And that's why I hate to see that kind of drama and stuff, because it's like, guys, we should be like, how much do we have in common that we're arguing over leucistic or leucistic and hating each other for it? That's what happens all the time.
Hey, I don't listen.
It's
I
so
don't hate
ridiculous.
Brian because of it. I'm just annoyed.
I'm not saying that.
And I
one's
know that
specific.
he's annoyed in the best way.
In the most loving, caring way ever, you fucker.
I just wish we could, like, we get hung up on such stupid small things.
I try
That's
not
true.
to.
Yeah.
I really try not to.
I do. I get hung up on it. It bugs me.
I like to think I
It's
let it
no.
blow
I mean,
past and
it's
then-
it's easy. I mean, if you think about like the history of just like social media in the industry, or if you even go further
It's not
back in like
social
the
media's
forum.
fault. That's just a venue for
Right.
people to be
Well, that's
people,
exactly
you
what I'm
know?
saying. Like you go even pre-social media, the forums.
Yeah.
Like all that stuff. As soon as there was any sort of potential drama in a thread, it was like, oh, have you seen this yet? Have you seen it? You got to jump on there and throw in your 2
That's
cents.
just all based
whatever.
on the fact that it's text based and not people speaking even over the phone.
I
which
don't
would-
think so, because look at
Oh,
YouTube
definitely.
channel.
No,
Drama on YouTube sells. If I talk about
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
disaster or sex or money, that video gets 10 times the views of me saying,
Of course,
let me
yeah.
teach you a real piece of information.
Okay, but I was just more talking about like where drama can arise and misunderstanding, miscommunication.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
arises
the more you're
through
removed
text-based
from
communication versus-
Right.
this being in person,
Right.
the more opportunity there is for us. Yeah,
Yeah.
true enough.
Yeah. That's why I just always come across sarcastic in as many ways as possible, so people don't misunderstand.
There
me.
are people that do not have the gene for sarcasm.
That's
But,
true.
I mean,
Not
Bob,
me.
You said you've been working for Nerd for 4 years.
Yes.
Wait, hold on. With that, my question is, sorry to cut you off, but you do
No,
it
you're
all the
okay.
time. How has he affected the change in the last year and a half, since you've been there for almost more than twice as long as he has?
He's made it so much better.
That's what I
so much better.
That's what my guess would've
because Kevin has kind of always had.
We're talking about Jeremy for those of you who are
Yeah,
listening.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I want
sorry.
you to get all your
Going back.
credit.
Jeremy has made Nerd so much better. When I took over like sales and marketing from Josh Ortiz, who worked there before, he was kind of doing
I
a little
remember
bit of
Josh.
everything. Yeah, he was doing a little bit of everything. But when I took that over, I was still working in the pet store, so I still did half of my hours or more downstairs doing retail in-store, and then doing part of my time upstairs, focusing on selling things, emails, shipping, all that sort of stuff.
Ooh, I like that cut your teeth downstairs method.
That's where I started at
It's
Nerd,
like,
was
honestly, maybe
downstairs.
The only compelling reason to have a pet store I've ever heard. But go ahead.
Yeah. So I was supposed to be doing his job and sales and education and this and breeding and this and that and this and that and this
Welcome
and that.
to a small company.
Yeah. And there's not even like a small company, but like it's small
huge
enough.
reptile company, small company.
Yeah.
compared to any other
right,
industry.
right,
Compared
right.
to Chevron. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I was trying to do all of those things, if you're trying to do too many things at one time, you can't be successul at any of them, in my opinion.
Jack of
Or
all trades.
truly successful
Jack
at
of all
any
trades,
of them.
master of none.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was not, because having to deal with the employees alone is its own job. That is its own job. Dealing with sales and emails and phone calls and just fielding questions that people get in the volume that we get at Nerd is its own job. Retail sales downstairs is its own job. And then taking care of animals and breeding animals is its own job. All of those things literally should have their own person to handle them because of the amount of volume that we do in all of those things. And so I was just not able to do all of those things. And so when Jeremy came on and started handling the employee aspect of it, wrangling Kevin, helping out with some of the breeding design for stuff, helping with some of the organization, it allowed me to do the other things that I'm doing better. And we've done 2 to 3 times better as a company since Jeremy started because we have that ability to spread that work out a little bit more.
I love teaching about business stuff, but just really quickly, Brian, the principle is this, like, everyone likes to talk about being well-rounded and working on your weaknesses. Don't do that. Just ignore your weaknesses. You suck at those things. Focus on what you're good at.
What you're good at, and then
If
find
you
someone
can
else
do
to
what
do the thing that
you're
you're bad
good
at. Yeah.
and you can do what you're good at as a team and
come
with
together.
a family and
Yep.
a community.
And
Right,
communicate
really good.
those
So,
things well.
Yeah, communicate, have relationships, do what you're good at, support the people you love, and forget the things that suck in life and move forward in that. Yeah.
And that was one of the things. So like when I came on, it was the job was offered to me. Originally, the job was offered to me as a joke.
Where did you work before?
So I was actually teaching music full time before. I was like 100% music. That's
Why do I
literally
feel
what
like
I was
I've known
doing.
you forever? You've only been there for a year and a half.
I
It's
don't
like
know.
COVID.
I mean, probably
You used to
we
do
probably
live streams at
talked, and I
Nerd
used
for
to do live
years
streams at
and
Nerd for a
years.
super long time and stuff. Probably like the year and a half leading up to me taking the job.
I'm finally getting that thing where people like, because I'm on YouTube, you know this. People come to you and they feel like they know
They've
you.
known
and
you
they're
for a
like,
while.
"Oh!"
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you're
yeah.
like, I've never met you before.
Yeah.
I think I'm doing that. I'm a little bit starstruck, Jeremy, but go ahead.
It's okay. I'll
I've
sign
seen you
your
so much online.
I'll
I
sign
feel
your
like I
stickers
already know
later.
it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was hoping you'd sign something else. He's mostly gay. He might go
He only signs the condoms.
for it. Whoa. I was thinking like my boob or something.
My bad. I didn't
Wow.
know.
Jeez.
Rob knows I'm kind of aggressive.
Yeah. He's on Grindr.
Set him up and you knock him down.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm the best wingman, man.
oh boy.
Kidding. Jeez.
Oh boy. Just give me the bottle.
Oh, that thing's almost half gone.
So originally the job was offered to me in kind of like a joking manner. So there have been a couple of, so I worked for a really short period of time at Zoo Creatures. Like when I say really short, I'm talking like
Which is your
maybe
guys' pet
a
store?
month, which is our pet
I
store.
just say because I think a lot of people don't.
They don't know. Yeah, exactly.
I
the
forgot until I
national
pulled up at the driveway.
Yeah. So and the only reason it wasn't successful was because I was still living in Western Massachusetts, which is almost 2 hours away. And
Actually, didn't know that. You worked at Zoo Creatures?
yeah, for a really short period of time. And it was literally just because I was like, to me, Nerd, the whole entity, that was like the dream job. Because I've known Kevin since I was in my mid-teens. He's the person that like drug me through the mud of like understanding genetics and like working with different species and like all this
I
stuff.
say leucistic.
And we're done. So, so I was like, oh my God, there's an opportunity to work there. I want to just get involved. So I remember I messaged Tammy, who was the manager downstairs, and
Oh yeah, Tammy.
So-
She's still there?
she is, yeah.
Kinda.
so she was like, "Wow, I have to talk to Kevin." So whatever.
Is that
so
what she sounds like? I don't remember. her
kind of
sounding
what
like
she
is
sounds like.
exactly
Yeah.
what she
that.
sounds
That was more like a duck.
It was sometimes more like a crow or an eagle, depending on the day. And
Neutron, did you ever
Yeah.
see that show?
Yeah.
his teacher.
Wow, I'm
That's where
sorry,
you get
Tammy.
Tammy. Yeah.
She knows it.
We do it to her face all the
She
time.
gets mistaken for a macaw all the time.
All the time. Yeah.
All the time.
You
Love
remember
you,
what we were
Tammy.
saying about if you're
We
thinking
love you,
something nice,
Tammy.
just say it? The
Yeah.
perfect example. You sound like a freaking crow
You sound
or
like a macaw.
screaming
Macaws,
parrot.
they're beautiful. They're majestic.
Yeah.
They're South American. I'm grasping.
Grasping
I'm
at
grasping.
South
She's
American.
not South American, but we love you, Tammy. And then she messaged me like an hour later and was like, "I talked to Kevin and he verified your credentials, so let's set something up." And I was like, "Okay." And literally, I was doing like 3 or 4 days a week, 10-hour shifts plus essentially 4-hour round trip commute.
That's exactly how I started
And-
Prehistoric. It was a 3-hour commute.
Yeah,
so
and
working
I was
4
just like,
tens
yeah, I
just to
was
make it
like,
possible.
after like less than a month, I was like, oh my God, I can't keep this up. Oh my God, I can't keep this up. Because I was like dreading just waking up because I was like, I'm getting 4 hours of sleep. Because I also had a collection of reptiles at my house and everything. So I was like, oh my God.
Oh my gosh, I feel you.
Yeah, it was so bad. So I was
Like
like,
reliving a
I
dark
messaged
part of
Tammy
my
and I was
past.
like, look, I can't
like
do
Tiger King.
this. Yeah.
We're watching it. We're going, oh my God, that's my life.
That's my life. Yeah. So I
For
was
the
like, oh my
record,
God,
I
I can't
never
do this.
felt that.
So I was teaching music full time. I was gigging and touring, and I was working with different artists and all this stuff. And I've been teaching for maybe like 6 or 7 years. And I was like, man, I need to change. I was getting burnt out from teaching, and I loved being on the road, but you're a musician. Sometimes that's just unstable, and it's not a solid way to generate any sort of
COVID.
income. No, this is
I thought
like
that's why you
pre-COVID.
signed up.
Yeah, exactly.
I want
to
really
live in that
unpredictable
box on the
lifestyle.
corner of Main and Broadway. So I happened to just be visiting Nerd, and Kevin was like, "You looking for work?" And I was like, "Oh, I mean, I'm always looking for work, but what are we talking
I
about?"
am a musician.
Yeah, basically. And he was like, "Well, we could use some help up here," and then that was like the open door to initiate that discussion. And I was like, "Well, I mean, if I'm gonna do this, here's some criteria that I need met if I'm gonna pick up everything and move." Even though I was frustrated with teaching, it was a really solid and stable career for me.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Sure.
whatever.
If it works for me, I'll work for you.
Yeah. So anyway, we ended up agreeing on all that stuff, and it was basically given to me like I need some organization upstairs. There's a lot of moving parts, and it's hard to maintain them all because I don't have one person that I can just go to whose sole job is to handle X and Y. And I was like, well, I'm really good at that. Mm-hmm. that's a strong suit of mine. And it was only made easier by the fact that, like, I knew who the person I was going to be working really close with was Rob, who I'd already known for a very long time. I mean, I fucking lived with him when I was in college.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
So,
that.
and that was by happenstance too. So it was like wonderful.
That was a Reptile Expo story.
That was a Reptile Expo story. So quick deviation on it because it's worth telling.
Yep.
We're at a White Plains show in New York, and I bumped into Rob. And
We knew each other from YouTube and Facebook and stuff.
yeah, but I hadn't seen Rob in a long time, like really long time. And I was like 3 weeks away from needing to be in Boston to go to college, and I had no place to live. Like nothing set up because I refused to pay the $15K extra for dorming in Boston.
This sounds like a Garrett story, except it would be like the $15 extra. But
It was $15K. Berkeley's not cheap.
also,
so,
I didn't go to college.
Wait,
But
so Berkeley with
Berkeley,
Actually, it's
yeah, with
nothing
two,
like
yeah,
me,
Berkeley
my
College of
story.
Music, yeah. So we were like, hey, man, how's it going? Blah blah blah. And I was like, to be honest with you, dude, I'm stressed out, bro. I'm stressed out.
You went to Berkeley?
No. This was at White Plains. This was at the White
okay,
Plains
okay,
show. And he was like, how you doing, man? I'm like, honestly, dude, I'm really fucking stressed out. And he's like, what's going on? And I was like, I got accepted to Berkeley. I start on this day. I have no fucking place to live. And he was like, dude, you should fucking hit me up. I'll talk to my mom. Blah, blah, blah. We'll make something happen.
We have an extra room in the house.
Yeah, we got an extra room in the house. And I was like, oh my God, are you serious right now? because like I was ready to like buy a big screen TV, so I had a box to stay in on Boylston Street. Like,
Don't say this unless you mean it.
yeah, exactly.
Because you will not be able to get rid of me.
Yeah, and
I'm
like
a stray
what,
cat.
like a week later, I'm like on the phone with his mom, and she's like, give me the lowdown, ask me the questions. What's the
do
deal?
not party, do not drink crazy at our house. We don't do that.
Yeah,
No podcasts.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
But,
no Dave Kaufman.
yeah. And I was like, deal. But I was
that
like,
guy.
oh my god, this is literally perfect. So I when it was time to start that semester, I hauled my ass on out there, and it was freaking perfect. So I've known Rob for forever, and am 100% grateful for him. But oh, okay. Yeah. So anyway, you should answer that. Yeah, you should answer that. So anyway, I wish I could see his face. So anyway,
What's happening?
you're on
Lucas
his
and Bellamar.
podcast right now. We're on Searchable as
recording.
Reptiles.
Searchable as Reptiles right now.
Lucas, you want to say hi on the podcast? Come on, Lucas, say hi real quick.
Say hi real quick.
This is the first call-in we've ever had. We're not even a live show.
Garrett is very upset.
What's
Garrett
happening?
is mad.
What is
Look at-
happening?
This is say hi to Garrett Hartle and laugh at his frustration.
Who the hell are you? What's with the hair?
Wait until you see him.
We may or may not
Maybe
be kind
tomorrow.
of drunk, but
Maybe
it's
tomorrow.
okay.
You look like one of those Dave Kaufman groupies.
I need a drink
Oh
right
my
now.
gosh, you guys, I
Lucas.
love my life.
Shout out, shout out your Instagram right now. We're gonna plug you a little bit on the podcast. Just shout out your Instagram.
Cobra Keeper Jr.
There we go.
Hey.
and Lucas Massel Exotics.
Yeah.
Bam.
We'll call you back, bro.
We'll call
Vote you
back.
with your dollar, folks.
Yeah, vote with your dollar.
See ya. Okay.
So me and Jeremy have known each other for a while. So
For a
we
long
came-
time, yeah. So when
Wait, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Just I have to ask my co-host this. Does just anything go on this podcast? We
You
just
can edit it out later. You can edit
There's
it
no
out later.
rules. You can just take a phone call.
Okay, so
I'll
here's the deal.
explain. I'll explain.
Get used to that. Kevin's going
Wait,
to do
I
it to you
wanna-
tomorrow.
I wanna
I
answer-
promise.
Yes, 100%.
I promise
I
you.
thought you said he doesn't ever answer.
No.
I want to
No,
answer that
depending
question.
depending on who it is, he'll answer.
it's
Be like,
his-
"Oh, hang on, this is Jay Brewer."
Oh, that'd be great. I want to answer this question. Yeah, that was always the idea behind the podcast. I don't remember I don't know if you remember the first conversation that we had when I said we should do this.
Yeah, Dave
It was-
Kaufman was there.
It was. We
True
should,
story.
I was like, I don't want to have to wade through bullshit, and I've been waiting still. I think eventually we're gonna just there will be
Still?
all the-
Did you hear that? It's Dave Kaufman.
You can't feel that way still. Not in this. Not tonight.
Actually is.
Oh, it's not Dave.
Oh, that's the
That was
other
also a
Rob.
booty.
That's the other Rob.
Okay, let's
Just wait.
air.
Let's just breathe real quick, because this room is like it's
very
10
hot.
times worse than
No,
Bartek's
no!
sauna. Whoa! Don't do that. All right, that's other Rob. No, we don't. He's not even been drinking
I-
that.
I
Okay, so now
apologize.
everything goes.
Now everything goes. That's
I
right.
apologize.
Ryan, go back.
I apologize
You
to the audio
can't
listeners. It
possibly
got really
feel
crazy.
like this is like a censored or reserved podcast at this point,
Fuck no.
especially not tonight.
Fuck
Come
no.
on, we just been whatever. I mean, I called out Michelle Lindsay's name from AP
Okay, maybe-
class.
Yeah, we're
in
out
high
here. We're
school.
out here
This
doxing
is for
people.
Real.
Maybe tonight is the game changer. It could be.
Okay.
My thing is that I wanted to start it because we always had these great conversations when there wasn't a camera roll, and
Brian.
I wanted to capture one of those on a podcast, and that was the idea behind it. And we're working to get there. One of these days, we're gonna have that thing where I'm like, this is like that moment that I
don't-
wanted to capture. When we sat and we stood in that Airbnb in Tinley and had that conversation that made me feel like we were talking about the universe and life and everything.
I don't know
involved in
that
it.
you can do that. Like, it's not that we wouldn't do
I know,
it
but it's
for our
hard because
listeners.
it's hard when
It
you're-
just
when
you
you hit
can't
record, it changes.
manufacture authenticity.
Yeah.
So if we have a moment, we're sitting in a parking lot somewhere discussing the meaning of life. I mean, I suppose you could whip
This sounds
out
like
your
Tinley.
phone, and it is pretty much always Tinley. But that's the only time
It's
we
always
see each other.
Tinley, dude.
Well, so here's the thing that you guys maybe I don't know if you realize this, but like Brian once upon a time said that he was going to make an annual pilgrimage to Pittsburgh for Tinley. I bought a bigger car so that I could
For said
fit
pilgrimage?
his ass in it as I towed my snakes and trade show booth to Tinley, so that I'd have extra room for Brian. And the thing you have to realize about Brian is like, I'll be like, hey, Brian, you and me are doing this thing, right? And then you have to plan for like 3 other people that he invited along the way.
You guys so possibly know what that's like to you.
No, not at all.
This exact trip was supposed to be like a me and you trip, and I almost didn't come on it because you invited a bunch of other people and set the date.
No, it was.
And then Dave Kaufman was the tipping.
It was
tipping
Bradley.
point.
Bradley had the idea to come here, and he.
Well,
was facilitating.
I mean, I love Bradley and I love Dave, so I mean, I never mind. But my point was, I had to buy a bigger car for all your people that I love. It's not like you bring.
So when I
someone
started
don't
working at Nerd,
yeah, Jeremy.
Wait, what was the question that you guys had?
Is this the end?
We've definitely
pretty
gone longer than
close.
we usually do. We're started to.
Yeah,
I feel like we're getting
nobody's
into-
listening.
We can
at
end
this
it.
Point.
We're spiraling.
We can end
no,
it.
we gotta
All
ask the question.
oh yeah,
Okay,
well
what's the
yeah, okay.
question?
So at the end of all of our episodes of Reptile Talk, we ask our guests one question. So we're gonna ask you guys that question tonight. So that question
don't
is.
you just want us to come on your podcast?
Well,
We do,
well,
but
he already
it'll be
did it,
different. It'll
so-
change
It's not
from.
the same. That's sad.
It will literally
That's
change
just
from
sad.
now to the next time.
It'll
that we-
change. No, it'll actually
it'll
change. And if it doesn't, well, then you should get on the internet more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, so the question is,
I don't know.
what
That's debatable.
in the realm of reptiles, be it in
Something
your
that
own
you've seen.
collection or something that you've seen along the way, what in the realm of reptiles has you excited
Right now,
right now about reptiles?
because that's going to change
Right now.
Yeah,
Yes.
right now, this
In this
very
moment.
moment. Yes.
in this particular moment.
I have an answer, but Brian, go first.
Let your answer go, because right now the world of reptiles has me honestly a little bit depressed.
What?
Just my own personal world of reptiles.
Freaking newbie, man. That doesn't. That does.
No, that's fair. I know
I'm
what he's
so-
talking about. It's
I-
okay.
That's just like a. That's like a 5th-year reptile keeper thing. I'm so past that.
I got my first snake when I was 4, so I don't know what that means.
All right. well, I don't know. All right. Oh, well, I'll tell you what it is.
Is it the new chalice?
No. I love New Chalice, and if you don't know what it is, you have to look it up. It's NuChALIS. It's a monitor lizard. Anyway, no, it's kind of like a newfound thing for me is African house snakes.
Really?
Oh, okay.
Is that weird? It's pretty weird, right? It's
Well-
like
No,
saying,
they are really.
they're
It's
pretty
like
cool.
saying I love
They're- and
ringneck
they're-
snakes or something,
Dude,
which I do.
don't
No,
you
ring-
shit on ringneck snakes?
I
They're
didn't-
amazing.
That was not a shit. I just said I love them.
No, I know, but you're like, yeah. People, if someone says that they like ringneck
no,
snakes,
you
No, house
misunderstood.
snakes are
Check
cool.
this
House
out.
snakes are cool.
The
I-
Bitcoin of reptiles.
I actually think.
Oof. They're
don't
no
know.
longer cool.
Yeah.
they had their boom.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would venture to say that was ball pythons, but that's okay.
Yeah.
No, I actually love ringneck snakes, and I always wanted to establish them in captivity, like for the hobby. But because they're such an amazing animal, but then there was also like this conflict in me where, like, first of all, I don't think they make very good captives, mostly because of diet and size.
Yes.
Like they're too small.
Too small,
Like
yeah.
nothing. They can't eat anything commercially available. But
Earthworms.
also, but I don't know if you could sustain multiple generations on that because they have to eat like salamanders and
Yep.
stuff. Also, like after like, I mean, super dwarfs. Okay, we're a little bit no bullshit here. Okay, I'm going to talk about super dwarfs, but the thing about it is like, after establishing a niche or whatever in the hobby, and like I've been pouring my heart and soul into that, and I love the animals, but there's some things that I just want for me. And I don't care if like ringneck snakes ever make it to the hobby because sometimes I just like to flip over a rock and find one and have it be cool. It's almost like Brian, like you remember when we went out with Gundy and we would look for rubber boas. I didn't even find any, but that's still a part of the journey. Do you remember you remember, but it was more earth shattering for me when we found the San Francisco garter snake. Do you remember how excited
damn.
I was?
Oh, yeah.
I don't cry. Like my wife's seen me cry twice. I almost cried when we found a San Francisco garter snake in the world. And there's some things that are just like, I love you guys that listen to me, but I don't want to share everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my
fair.
moment.
Yeah,
Is this
100%.
So like
yeah.
ringneck snakes might be worth 50 cents, but that's it for me. Some things are just special.
Yeah.
African house snakes, on the other hand, they're like the ringneck snakes, but like everybody should have an African house snake. And if you don't know it yet, it's because you don't have one. And they're very cheap. They're very underappreciated, which is like exactly my style. Because I love reptiles. I love reptiles. You know, and I like to sit down and look into something that has the eye the size of a dot of a period on a printed piece of paper. And look into that thing's eyes and have my soul connect to it. And I can do that with a house snake. House snake has, like, for me, what makes it fun as like a breeding project is like the localities, the subspecies, and the morphs. And you have, because between those three factors, you have all this
lot of
diversity.
Yeah.
And then house snakes are very misunderstood. And what everyone thinks they know about house snakes are all Fugoliniatus. They don't know about any of the other stuff. It's a whole new world. And it's stupid. They're tiny, and I can breed the adults in my hatchling retic tubs. You know what I mean? And they act like retics, and they look like pythons. The most similar thing I've ever kept to them is Antaresia. So if you like children's pythons, but you want something that's going to like eat and be easy for you, get house snakes. You know what I mean? They're amazing, and there's like, oh my gosh, you guys, if you haven't like dived deep into the South African forums, there's so many morphs and populations. And it's like my second snake ever, like second exotic snake, I should say, because I caught stuff outside. But the second snake that I was allowed to buy was a pure Jampea, which is, you know, kind of like what the drama was evolved around it. I'm very passionate about them. And I actually love the stuff that you guys produce with that stuff. I love Jampeas, but it's been so long for me because when things are a business, a little part of so much of like your livelihood gets tied. I mean, I do this for a full-time living. I don't work for somebody else. And it's all on Dwarf and Super Dwarf. I eat, sleep, and breathe them. So the house snakes to me feel like a weekend. If that makes sense.
Yeah. It's something that allows you to rekindle that overall joy and excitement about reptiles.
And it's
I get
so
that.
fun. And I have like committed myself to, like, I want to do all the things I do with Super Dwarfs with the house snakes, except I never want to sell one to anybody. Like, I've got a great guy's named Warren Klein. It's Bushveld Reptiles.
If you don't ever sell a house snake to anybody, I won't call bullshit on everything you just said.
You can remember this because I might have to eat crow if they make retics illegal to sell, and I'm so like 10 generations in the
He's
house
like,
snakes.
well, it's house snakes.
If retics are not illegal and you sell a house snake, I call
I
bullshit on
don't
everything you
care
just said.
that I ever sell a house snake, but I want to take them as far. I mean, I'm into my 7th generation selective breeding, the Super Dwarf. I want to take the house snakes that far, and I don't ever want to share it. If you want to get a house snake, go to Warren Klein of Bushveld Reptiles. They are the best, period, and that's it. That is new and exciting for me. And, you know, like my Rob, I always keep saying my Rob because you're here, but Rob that maintains all the snakes for me and stuff.
Rob Roush.
I've traded some elite retics for the collection that I have, and I would wager that after Warren Klein, I probably have the best collection of house snakes in the U.S. right now.
That's awesome.
If you think that yours is better than me, you can call BS on me, and I will come buy you out because I'm that into them right now. Because bullshit, I'm the best, and that's it. Other than Warren, who's like my mentor right now because he's amazing and I love him, and Nicole, I always got to mention his wife, but she doesn't like me, and Warren talks to me all the time. So, but it's actually Nicole is the one driving it. But just take it from me, guys. Like, that's a cool species. And just for me, right now, weird, obscure, I don't care if anyone follows or not.
Yeah.
Those snakes are legit. And they're so tiny and it's like ringneck snakes. It's like, I'm in love with these things. And I like retics. So you guys, like, even if you've worked at Nerd for 1.5 years, you gotta admit, like, retics are pretty much the best.
I don't like them. I'm not gonna lie. I've got
I don't
one.
say this very
I
often.
got one
but
retic, and
fuck you.
That's
Rob.
fine. I'm fine with that because I know it's coming from a place of love.
You're ignorant.
That's fine. That's
you don't
fine.
know.
I
don't know how you've worked at Nerd for 4 years and missed the fact that
Okay, wait.
retics are
So
best.
all this means is tomorrow, Rob. You
You need
to
to
go
show
into,
me what you love about them.
No,
Because
no. Here's all that
let
needs
me
to happen.
Give
Here's-
you an educational program
Yes.
where you walk in a
Yeah.
Nerd with me tomorrow.
I'll come
and
in with
leave
an
a
open
changed
mind.
man.
I'll go in with a change with an open
and
mind.
then Rob is going to
To
watch
be
you
fair,
open the
guys have a
first
lot of
tub.
cool species.
Rob is going to watch you open the first tub when it comes and rails the side of the bin and starts gnawing on it. And it's just like, go ahead, Garrett. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Start talking.
I'm gonna be like, look, hold on,
How's
everyone.
that cool?
Smartest snakes
Jeremy, you're
behind King
talking
Cobras,
from
ladies and
you're
gentlemen.
talking from a guy that's like still getting used to it. This is my life. I mean,
Still getting used to it?
Listen. I've got 4 kids that do that. Human children. A retic
You
is
open the
Hey,
door.
literally.
look at. Don't
Here's the thing that
don't
people
talk
don't
to me
understand.
about your poor decisions.
Whoa.
I'm just saying, we both
Let's
don't
take
have
this
any kids.
outside.
We both don't
No
have any
kids.
kids.
Team no kids.
Hey, as a guy with 4 kids, I can honestly respect that decision. On the other hand, sometimes the hard way is the good way. Oh.
Here's the deal. Garrett's kids are going to carry the torch for him when it comes to reptiles and education and shit. And me and Jeremy are going to be shit out of luck. Our legacy dies with us.
Here's my and this might be
I'll
unique,
adopt.
and
I'm gay. We do it.
I've got extras.
He's like, you see, on that podcast, I told him, if you don't do your homework, I'm sending you to Jeremy.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, on the 4th kid, my wife and I figured out 3 was the right number. We'll talk after this. Brian, you're at 3, right?
I'm a 3.
Stay there. Stay there.
We are. That's the plan.
No, but you know what's funny is sometimes it's all about perspective, right?
Yeah.
So like I retired into retics from the more dangerous animals I worked with, which were dogs and horses.
No.
Oh my
I don't like
gosh.
those.
People who think snakes are dangerous.
No,
like,
they
I
have
mean,
never.
obviously, all you guys are listening to probably reptile stuff, so you know what I'm talking about. But like, I mean, for like, I've got this little scar on my thumb. You see that little scar?
Mm-hmm.
That's the worst thing I have to show from me from 20 plus years of breeding retics, and most of my stuff. I mean, if you go, you rewind the clock 20 years, almost all the retics were wild caught. Especially if you're a poor boy like me. You know what I mean?
That's how I cut my teeth. Was when I was volunteering at Nerd when I was 18 and helping Andy and those guys clean some of those big retics. Just learning how
That's
to
the way
work
you
those
do it. It's like learning how to drive a car
Holy
on a
moly.
manual transmission.
in
You
the
can
middle of a
drive all the
highway in
automatics
San
after
Francisco.
On
Yeah.
the 405.
But I loved the wild caught retics. So to me, I haven't lost what's amazing about all these like 7th generation captive bred animals. You know, so that's what's phenomenal for me is that I'm comparing like when I say I worked with horses, literally the reason I had to go work at Prehistoric Pets was because I had broken my back. You know the story. The third time.
Your podcast.
The
sometimes.
third time I broke my back, I was like, I don't think I can do horses anymore.
Yep.
And we were breaking wild Mustangs and trying to find homes for them. You know what I mean? So it was a great thing that we were doing. It was really cool, but I couldn't cut it. So I'm like, you know what? I better go to work with reptiles. You know, so like a giant retic, it could be scary or whatever. And yes, in the like in a constriction situation, that 1 in 10 million freak scenario, they could actually be dangerous.
I don't
The
care
rest
about
of the
that.
time, they're just scary. And as my 10-year-old daughter would say, did you know some adults don't even know the difference between scary and dangerous? You know what I mean? And I mean, it's a true story. They really like are not that dangerous. They might be scary to some people, but through education, we can change that.
Yeah. I just think that they're overhyped. That's all.
Should we? And you guys got a
I was
question.
going to answer
for
the
us.
question, but I was going to wait for you to finish speaking. It's been about 20 minutes now.
You should never wait for me to.
That's true.
I was just thinking maybe you want to hear what my answer to the question was.
Yes.
I could be wrong about
Yeah.
it.
No, we
want
to hear.
What in the realm of reptiles has
I
got you
wanna hear
excited?
it.
What
I like house
what's got
snakes.
you hyped
I don't know
about
why I
reptiles?
talk
As
so
I
long.
said first, it was depressing because if anybody watched the vlog channel knows my favorite snake is most likely dying right now. That's-
Are you
that's
talking
kinda-
about the indigo?
Yeah, so that's depressing.
That's
but
rough.
it also got my wheels turning about the reason that snake has been my favorite is because it's been the one that I introduced first at every educational show because it just his temperament, and I actually think it's the coolest snake ever on the planet.
Is it the same one that got lost?
Yes.
Hey. See, I would like to point out that I don't do anything on social media, but I know what's up with you. So
Right.
I just want you to know.
He loves you.
I know he
He's
does.
saying
I
he
know he
loves you.
does. That's the only reason that anything.
That this works.
But that got me thinking
Kinda
about what
works.
actually does have me excited about reptiles right now. Is that literally today? Because my most exciting thing in reptiles has been that last year learning about educating people and how really deeply that it affects my soul.
Because you took over the roaming
Taking
reptiles.
over roaming reptiles from Brandon Fowler. He kind of
Another
had
fact I knew
he
about
had-
your life
he-
from your
he
social
had-
media.
Gary knows more about me than me sometimes. I was so not willing to take it over from him. I didn't think I had time. He basically put me on the spot. I was like, well, if you don't, I'm ending it. And I said, okay, well, that's not cool. So I said, I'll give you Mondays. Whatever Monday I'm available, whatever Monday, and then after I did the first one, I was like, okay, any day.
Priorities.
And then last year, when that basically stopped, the schools were done, the libraries were done. I was like, damn it! I just found this thing that I actually really love doing. There's nothing I love more than going out and seeing them kids get
hyped. The first time you let a kid hold a snake and they're just like, you just see that excitement.
That's like I said.
Right.
When you were talking, Rob, I was like,
God.
I just realized I missed that.
Yeah.
And so the fact that today I booked, and the person that I booked it with, here's the thing. I canceled the insurance, the liability insurance, because the amount of shows that I was going to be able to do potentially, like even a birthday party in Bakersfield, which is where Brandon was, which is where most of the shows have been. Hillary's been a little more, reserved on wanting me to go to birthday parties and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I've been respectful of that, and that cuts out the gas money plus the liability insurance. So it just came to a screeching halt essentially. But the show that I booked today is with the person that started Roaming Reptiles that sold it to Brandon back in the day.
Oh, that's awesome.
I thought Brandon was the guy. No.
No. It's not Brandon. Brandon definitely took it to where it is now. Brandon drove hard, but it wasn't Brandon. It was Andrew Barton that started it.
Cool.
And it's his kid's birthday, and he really wanted. He's like, "Do you still have the animals?" And
Wow,
I was like, "Yeah, I
that's
still got
pretty
the animals.
cool.
Of course, I still have the animals."
His own kid's birthday.
Yeah,
That's
awesome.
pretty cool.
so that's going to be the first one, I think, and I feel like that's going to be the first show of many more to bounce back to the. I literally took a piece of my soul and
One
pushed
can
it down
only hope
to where I can't feel it anymore.
2021 will be
because
somehow
I
better.
Hurts,
literally found what I really, really, really love in this hobby more than anything else, which is is just bringing the animals and watching the kids get excited about it. I love that more than anything that I've ever loved in reptiles.
It's reliving your childhood is really what it is.
and watching
Giving
all these
someone
kids
else the
do it, yeah.
opportunity that you... All of us are old enough that it wasn't easy to fall into reptiles. It wasn't as established as it is now.
No.
There's a lot of people that had, a huge community support when they're getting started. I talked to Aiden, my employee, and he's like, well, I looked up to all these people and I did all this stuff. When I was a kid, there was nobody.
Yeah.
I was just a weird kid.
Yep.
Period.
And so
And there was a few of us weird kids around the country that and I can't even take credit because it was all the old timers and stuff, the Kevin McCurleys of the world, that built a lifestyle that the rest of us can fit into.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
It's really wild, and I feel that with the educational programs because that is my favorite thing to do at Nerd. Sorry, not the microphone.
No.
Yeah, it feels like a dick. I don't know, but it
Mostly
yeah. But
Mostly.
going from seeing 100 people every weekend and teach and out of those 100 people you get at least 2 people or 3 people who are like, I am here because they love reptiles and not for any other reason. I don't like these things. And then going from that at the beginning of the program to at the end of the program, them holding a ball python or putting a ball python on their neck and being like, wow, I need a pet snake. I need
those
this.
Those are the best people.
That is the best. That is the best feeling in life. That is, I don't know if it gets any better than that. is taking someone from a place of fear and bringing them to a place of understanding.
I might be that guy that's like, guys, I just love you guys. And this single barrel rye is really good. But I think this podcast is over because I feel like we're repeating ourselves.
That's it.
So, 215 was one of my favorite numbers for a long time because of Proposition 215 to finally fucking legalize marijuana in the state of California. Oh my God, it took forever.
What are you talking? Okay.
I don't.
I got an eye on the clock. That's all.
Oh,
Is
okay.
it
okay.
2
Eye
hours
on
and
the
15
clock.
minutes? Oh my God.
Crushed it. What did I tell you?
One of the best podcasts ever for authentic
yeah,
people.
yeah,
Nobody's going to listen to the end.
hey.
If you're still listening,
Hey,
I
you're
love
the
you
only
guys,
people
man.
that count.
I really
Fuck
do.
yeah.
I love you too, man.
Oh, man. Yeah, you guys are awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Real recognize real. You know what it is.
Searchable as a reptile.